CPI at 8:30 a.m., guys, but there's also a lot of other things to talk about. We'll take a look here at the SPY here, S&P 500 to start. Right now, kind of consolidating near our low of days yesterday. We'll take a look at this NASDAQ as well. NASDAQ's actually gapping up. You're seeing here, even with some weakness, which we'll get to in a second, there's still a lot of strength in some of these tech plays, specifically semiconductors actually doing quite well. Those SaaS, as we'll get to in a minute, maybe not so hot today. Here is USO. USO gapping up, though, retreating from these highs a little bit here as we continue to have some renewed tensions here in the U.S. and Iran, with President Trump calling the U.S. the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz, a sentiment and belief that Iran certainly does not agree with. As I mentioned earlier, we do have CPI data here. So CPI month over month and year over year on a core and non-core basis is coming out at 8:30 a.m. Really the only big economic number of the day, but not the only big thing to be aware of for today. At 10 a.m., you get Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's first ever semi-annual testimony. This is going to be for the House Financial Services Committee. 11:15 a.m. We're going to get President Trump meeting with the Prime Minister of Iraq. Then you're going to get Fed speak pretty much all afternoon, starting around 12:40, ending around 3 p.m. Let's talk about IBM, because this is really the elephant in the room here. This thing down, I think it was like 23% as of right now, sharply moving to the downside on poorly received preliminary Q2 earnings. And this is one of those cases where you fully understand why the market is reacting the way it is, because these results, as the CEO himself recognized, not a strong quarter here. Speaking of actual formal earnings, though, not just preliminary earnings like what we have with IBM, you've got JP Morgan reporting results. Citigroup actually just shared earnings here at 8 a.m., so we'll go over these for you. $24.77 billion in revenue, beating estimates. Q2 EPS coming here at $3.15 per share. Q2 investment banking revenue here at $1.55 billion, or sorry, $1.55 billion. If I see anything else here compared to estimates, I will keep you guys posted. But again, it looks like they beat on revenue, looks like they beat on EPS. Not seeing any obvious misses here as I just scroll through this report. Total cost of credit actually a little bit weak, but either way, tons of earnings in focus, lots of tech in focus, actually a lot of smaller companies making deals as well. So with that, good morning, Sharif. Happy Tuesday on this very exciting day for the
Good morning, Adira. Yeah, lots to talk about today. Apple catching a downgrade 1% here in the pre-market. Talk about that. Then we also have Google under investigation by yet another European nation, this time from Switzerland. DRAM recovering here as SK Hynix did well overnight in the Korean session, up 3 1/4. And as Adira mentioned, IBM all sorts of weak. The banks mixed signals here. You've got JPM down 2 1/3, but you've also got Goldman Sachs on the back of investment income. They're up 2%. BAC down 1 1/5. Wells Fargo and Citi both down. Then you've got CleanSpark with a great deal here, up double digits, over 13%. Baidu, a bit of a different look, catching a bit of a downgrade here, 4.5. And then FCell, one of my holdings here, continues to do okay out of 50 EMA. Right now on the daily, it is up 7 and change. CMG opening their first restaurant in Mexico. That is, of course, Chipotle Mexican Grill. Then AAOI and NBIS, both with catalyst, both green.
Yeah, again, these deals here certainly worth discussing later. This overnight session in focus. So let's talk about the top 10 symbols that were traded in Blue Ocean. Micron here, the top symbol traded. This is up by notional. The top symbol traded. This is up by notional volume. That's how they're kind of measuring this. Then second place, you've got SOXL. That's the three-time semiconductor bull ETF. SanDisk, another memory name here in third. Fourth place, you've got the NASDAQ here, ETF, QQQ. EWY, so South Korea ETF in fifth place. And sixth place, our third memory name on the list so far, that is going to be the Round Hill Memory ETF, or DRAM. Then you've got the South Korea leverage ETF here, KORU. Nvidia coming in at eighth, TQQQ, so the levered NASDAQ ETF here is going to be ninth place, and in the 10th spot, MUU. So a lot of levered ETFs and a lot of memory and semiconductor plays, once again, were in focus during the Blue Ocean session. But you know who's always in focus here? Sean and Neil to kick us off with the trading. Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. So much to get into today.
Yeah, good morning. There's a lot. We came in today thinking, okay, well, Warsh, CPI, that's where things start. And then the bank earnings. And that's what's going to be the big deal.
I was not expecting this.
Overnight, SK Hynix was obviously with a bit of a recovery. Went 150 to 165 Blue Ocean, a straight shot off of $150 and 0 cents. It was flat off the even dollar and then went 10% almost in a straight shot to the upside. And despite all of that, the story is IBM dragging down IGV. This is a shot that's a shot at the bow at all of the software names right now, because they basically came out and said it. CapEx spending is going to data center and memory to a degree that they did not expect, and that's the reason for the prelim. And if you're doing this and you're coming out with that letter, like, you're doing it because you're giving them the shock now. So, come a week from now, it's supposed to have softened the blow. So 22% down, back to like basically where the bounce happened in May. Like, this stock ate 50% from May, and it's right back down into it, dragging the IGV as well, down about 4 points. They're catching strays left and right of them. Like Microsoft, they're catching strays just because of this report. So it's like the chips are back in the back in the driver's seat, and the software taking a big, big hit this morning. Wow, didn't know that this was where we're going to be looking this morning.
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, and there's also, like you were mentioning, there's a couple different names. Palantir getting hit hard too on the downside here. CRM getting hit. Like, there's a lot of names that we're starting to battle back over the last couple of days, and there it goes right now today. And it's just on the back of this IBM. I think IBM eventually finds that base. I mean, that 220 looks pretty good for IBM, so we can definitely have a look there as well. But yeah, Palantir down 5%. I really think we like this name at this level. Microsoft, I mean, there's a few different, anything that's in that IGV that's a software name getting hit today, right? So Microsoft again down 3%, like nothing that they did wrong, but potential warning, and that's what we were saying about yesterday. We had that poll up about the Mag 7, and it was kind of like, what are you guys worried about? I'm just worried that earnings may not be there, and if they're not, then names like Microsoft and then IBM out of nowhere. I mean, we weren't expecting that from IBM. So, you can look at a name QBTS. I mean, there's a couple different, quantum names here. I mean, IBM was known as a quantum play, right? And so you're seeing some of these names starting to pull back down a little bit as well. IonQ, maybe something to be thought about buying on dips here. I don't know. We'll see. Is IBM now just coming out and sort of telling us what we all don't want to hear right now? Neil mentioned the CapEx. All right, so the other name, Apple, I think it was a little bit of was Apple a downgrade or something today? Downside a little bit after closing at all-time highs yesterday, in and around that 317 mark, down into 314 there today. Goes Apple, something to look at there. I like the Nvidia possibility for a long, if we're going to look long somewhere. I've written that down, but I wrote down 205. It looks like, we're coming into that pretty quickly there, maybe 204.50, a little bit of a better level there for Nvidia, but that name was sort of rocking this morning, and now that's pulling back. So you got a little bit of a pullback happening. Look at the NASDAQ, the CPI is coming through today. So yeah, there's going to be lots of obvious things to look at. I want to look at quickly the dollar, because with the NASDAQ doing the move that it's doing here, this is Bitcoin right now. BTC just was at 63, so it's trying to find its base as well. I mean, I think we've probably found one in and around between 60 to 65. Seems like that's going to be a good base there for the U.S. dollar, and then for Bitcoin. And then we go over into the U.S. dollar, and we look here, 1 minute's maybe too much, but there's the move down right now in the U.S. dollar. So helping out the NASDAQ, and then now we're starting to get bumped up just a little bit. Maybe we'll go over into a 15-minute chart here. Okay, not a whole heck of a lot happening right now in the U.S. dollar. So just trying to find out where we're thinking about with the market, because yesterday I had that big bias to the short side, and that printed since the beginning of the day with short the TQs and long a few other names there, long Apple off the open. Just trying to find out where we're going to go with this today. IBM, though, I mean, yeah, that 220, I mean, that's just another level here that's come right into. And I saw some people in the chat buying some of these levels. I mean, this is the last time I bought IBM, when it was down here, and then we were lucky enough to get a bump higher and didn't take anything out. But here it comes right back in now into the bid. So IBM, if you like the name long term, I think it's obviously worth buying today, down 23%. But there might be a little bit more of a washout over the next couple of days. Sometimes on news you want to wait 3 days. So yeah, we'll wait to see what winds up happening, down 23% right now.
Yeah, I think one of the things to look at for IBM, and a couple of people tuning in, if you're just now tuning in, it was preliminary earnings for IBM, and the CEO letter was pretty pessimistic about where CapEx spending is not going, and it's not going to them. It's going to the chip names, it's going to memory, and that's the case. I think for that 220, because obviously we're gapped out here, we're trading at 225, so that'd be somewhere around here. But on a monthly, here for IBM, you can sort of see why 220 has been such a big deal. Like a couple of years ago, like one of the reasons that breakout was because of a prior high at 200 and you were breaking out a monthly. This was mid to the end of 2024. And then it literally wicked down into here and even the April lows. Like it's been holding that line the entirety of this breakout. So a loss of 220, there's a 50 period in here at like 200. So I guess you could always bounce there and wick the level because the prior highs have been down in the 200 range, but they haven't been tested in the last year and a half. That's the key. So if we lose 220, I think you've got a straight shot into the 200 level here for IBM. But hey, they're not the only thing out here that we are going to be watching. I know there's some small cap sit and spin already talking about this. Talk about the right name for a pharmaceutical. Shuttle Pharmaceuticals. Just in case you want to get people confused and think that it's something else. No, Shuttle Pharmaceuticals, SHPH, one of your big time runners this morning. Really good volume. I mean, obviously the volume is going to be through 73, 74% up here. Couldn't even find any news on this one on Shuttle Pharmaceuticals. But the last story was from June. So sometimes with these runners, and one of the reasons I bring it up is like it can be more about the infinitesimally small float. 600,000 shares float, 24% of it is short, but have been unable to find an actual catalyst. It doesn't mean that there isn't one. A lot of times you can maybe find things floating around on X or maybe on some people's Discords and that kind of nonsense, or Reddit. But for now, this one seems to be running on its own. So good luck, everybody. And NXTC is another one. You'll find that one on the free watch list. That's the thing. If it doesn't have a catalyst, we'll happily talk about it. But the ones that will be on the watch list, we'll try to throw them in with a catalyst so you have an idea of why a small capper might be moving. So something for absolutely everybody today, but lots for the bears. Adara, I saw your face when you looked at that IBM letter. Absolute craziness.
Part of it too is just that the CEO here, Arvind Srinivas, I think he's generally been pretty confident. He's come across as pretty confident. And I want to talk a little bit more about this in a second, but we know President Trump recently has heaped a whole bunch of praise, not just on IBM, the company, but specifically in the CEO. And he actually said, quote, "This quarter we faltered." So I actually appreciate the admission ahead of time. I kind of wonder maybe if when we actually get the report, people are like, oh, we already knew this was going to be bad. Maybe it bounces. I have no idea. But in the meantime, while we're here, we're going to talk about this obviously a couple times this morning, but let's get right into it. Talking about this IBM story here, Sharif.
Yeah, preliminary Q2 miss. That's kind of the headline here. But the bigger focal point here is, guys, that corporate buyers are kind of actively draining their software allocations to front-end CapEx for hardware. This is really what it comes down to here. Now, we can get into the nitty-gritty about their Z mainframes, and we'll do that in a second. But this is something that we need to keep a lookout, because it's what we're talking about here is a zero-sum budget chokehold, right? There's not enough money to go around for both at the moment. At least that's what corporations are telling us. At least that's what's being reflected here in IBM's preliminary Q2 results. So 37% distributed infrastructure kind of miss. Let's talk a little bit about that. We're hyper-focusing on the 7% collapse in their total infrastructure division. However, it's a tale of two stories here. Their legacy Z mainframes drag the segment down, but their new distributed infrastructure subsegment actually grew 37% year over year, so silver linings. There is margin contraction. You'd expect that with a report like this. You're seeing customers pivoting hard towards what they're calling low margin third-party commodity hardwares. We're talking about servers, we're talking about storage, we're talking about memory, and they're skipping entirely IBM's high margin product here, which is essentially narrowing their gap gross margins by about 100 basis points, now down to 57.5%. And then cybersecurity also was a big focus here in the letter by Arvind Krishna. He said, look, industry-wide cybersecurity concerns are the primary variable, these are his words, that distracted the enterprise tech buyers during the quarter. He says this confirms that large-scale corporate IT departments are so severely bogged down handling active network vulnerabilities that they're basically putting off contract negotiations for new software as well as their legacy software. So those weren't realized in the quarter, and as a result, top line number comes low.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting here too to kind of see again. We'll talk about the other SaaS names in a minute, but I have a question, Sharif, and I'm going to pose this to the guys after too. We know, as I mentioned, President Trump recently, heaped a whole bunch of praise on IBM and specifically on CEO here, Arvind Krishna. Do you think there's a chance, knowing what he's done in the past, that he goes here on True Social or says out loud he's going to be on camera today and tries to get this thing back to the upside?
I don't know, Adair. Trying to predict what President Trump does is a bit of a tough game. I'll skip that question.
Fair point. I think, it is worth being aware of. This could also, potentially be something that does happen today. So always be careful, as always, as you said, with President Trump, hard to predict. I want to mention Oracle here quickly, too, because I just saw a catalyst on them. They're obviously to the downside here on that IBM story, which is the reason for a lot of this SaaS weakness. But Oracle introducing an AI-native builder experience to create and run agentic applications in Oracle Fusion. So that's the deal here with ORCL. 15 minutes to go until CPI. Oracle, IBM, guys, thoughts?
Wow. So Oracle, obviously we've been looking at IBM primarily in software. I have the IGV actually on the list for the first time today because I think that's another way to be able to look at it. If IBM maybe doesn't look good for setups, I think you just go for the play over in software because it's a bit of a shot across the bow for all of them. But yeah, now looking at Oracle, ooh, goodness. It already did this, the flat bottom break.
Yep.
But I didn't pull it up yesterday, so I'm not gonna say that I saw this one happen. 133. You have another 52-week low coming in for Oracle. Breakfast this year, and it's eggs and spring rolls, according to Randy. But all we got right now is it's just more downward trend. This is a kind of day where, like I just did with IBM before, like you're pulling up something like an Oracle, you're going out to the monthly chart. That's where you have to go to get an actual look at what is happening here. This month is the break of the 50 period on a monthly for Oracle. It's a pretty significant flat bottom break. Now, you could make the argument that some of this is catching the strays of IBM. The month is only halfway over. There's still time for that to turn into a wick, and then next month it bounces and all that kind of rosy outlook. But the trend is your friend until the end, inevitably when it will bend. Personally, I feel a little bit better about IBM because I think what you get with them is you get a shot play for quantum and you're getting a bit of a discount, whereas Oracle, I don't know. They're still like the epicenter of if CapEx starts cutting, it's game over kind of deal. So, I get it, but this is one that I wouldn't want to be catching the falling knife on for Oracle. At least with IBM, you're getting something unique for, I think, an exponential growth play in the future, and you're getting it at a little bit of a discount. And it's got a pretty good level that it's trying to bounce off of, whereas Oracle's pretty much broke that level yesterday without even noticing. I didn't even notice that it broke that downside to the 133. So yeah, not down that much today. It's only 2%, but you know what? If you're looking for software names or somewhat software names that caught bids, it's crazy how quickly, and crowd's not split adjusted, sorry about that. That's a bad print, by the way, 198. We're at 186 here. But crowd fell on sympathy, and so did PanW within a matter of, I don't know, like 30 minutes of the continued downside in IBM, these names were already headed back in. So it just goes to show the algos very, very quickly pick these guys back up. And I think you might find a little bit more relative strength if you look specifically in cybersecurity.
Yeah, we like cybersecurity, Palo Alto, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, this is another stock here, NXTC. I saw someone, Zion Lala there. Here, I was asking what you guys were looking at right here today. And there it is right there, Zion talking about it right here, in at 740 there. So nice little trade there for NXTC coming up as well. Someone else was mentioning what they were trading. Where was it here? Oh, Penny Clean Spark. So, and of course a bunch of trolls and not trolls. I guess these are just I'll have to delete all these guys there. But yeah, no, NXTC, here's another name going. 44 million shares right there today. $2 up to $9 right now for NXTC. And what is NXTC? NXTC here. They are next cure, so it looks like they're going to find something here. We can, we'll find out the news about NXTC, but that one's going through $8. We've been here before, so watch out now as this name coming in right into a nice little level here of $8.50 or so. So good spot right now for NXTC. We'll see if we can get higher in through $14, but there we go, upside on this name. So yeah, I like that kind of a play there. This is a day trading, so shout out to Luis there. Looking at the short right now, NXTC with a $10 stop. So we'll have to wait to see what's going on there. And there's the $10 mark. So yeah, that's a supply and resistance zone. That's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about when we're doing trading, trying to find out for where's the support, where's the resistance. So $10 right there on the pushback in for NXTC. Thanks, Luis, for that. A little bit of a look there for sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's up, Joe Ventura? Yeah, yesterday, we nailed the Q short yesterday, man. It was a really great trade right off the 10 o'clock or so. We have CPI coming out in 10 minutes. So we can definitely wait to see how that is reflected in the market. I would wait until, any sort of a major announcement economically before we make any moves. So for me, it's pretty simple. We wait on this. We wait on the Qs before we get that CPI number, right? So that's what we're going to be doing right now, just waiting around and then, checking out the banks. Relatively flat, I would think, on the XLF, maybe to the downside. Most of them, Goldman Sachs beat. So 0.65. We had JP Morgan with a little bit of a struggle bus here early, but that'll be right back upside. They beat everywhere. Oh, it's not zeros. That's wrong. Oh, there it is. Okay, down 3%. I was going to say it's down 2 point something. Goldman is the one that's leading the way. JP Morgan misses on fixed income. Yeah. So they beat on 5 of their core businesses, but then missed on fixed. And Goldman's up 2.5. While JP Morgan's down that much. And then the other name was Wells Fargo that was starting to go to the downside as well a little bit. Not that, okay, well, there it is, 2%. And then the other big name, it's all the banks all in one, right? Citigroup as well, they're down 2. So basically 3 of the 4 banks down 2+% with Goldman Sachs holding us upside. Oh, I didn't look at BAC.
Wells was weak last time too.
Yeah. A lot of these banks are weak on earnings.
They buy it after.
2% it looks like. Again, there for BAC. Why is it taking forever to this load? Yeah, another 2% there for BAC. So most of the banks on the downside. Let's go find out what's on the call and options, puts. What's on that side, Joe? Let's go get some names.
Crazy. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the options activity. Katina Man, yesterday you were asking for some bank action via options, but we're going to kick things off with a couple of names here today. At the top of the list, actually making the most and the top volume with open and trade contracts in the top 10 yesterday was BAC. So let's take a look at this $60 strike price, guys. 47,000 contracts still open at that $60 strike with volume around 8,600 opened and closed. Now, as for the bid and the ask, you can see the liquidity there, guys, only a $3 spread. But one thing that we want to keep our eyes out on, and what Ozan and I are always looking at, is the open interest, 47,000 contracts at that marker. Now, the delta relatively high, guys, $79. So not quite a one-to-one yet. For every $1 move in the underlying, you're going to see a $79 change within the options contract pricing. And don't forget, your Greeks are always fluctuating. Now, as for your gamma exposure, relatively high here as well, too, guys. $15 on the gamma side of things. And your at-the-money IV sitting relatively cool, around 40% there. But what I want us to focus on is this specific call contract now, right out of the gate, guys. And it's a little bit more difficult. If you're an options purchaser in times of sideways movement, it makes things significantly more difficult to find appreciation within the contract itself. That's why when you have sideways movement, the condor route and credit-based trades are ideal. Why? Because you're not going to lose too much to theta. You actually gain from theta. All right, guys? So here it is, a 32% drop from the open on that specific contract. Not a bank here, guys, but we're going to be looking at Micron and a potential floor. This was the most amount of open interest that I've seen through multiple expiration cycles. So at this $900 marker, guys, we're going to be sitting around 14,700 contracts. Still currently open there with volume around 5,000 open and closed on yesterday's session. It's going to be expiring on the 17th. Now, as for the bid and the ask, you can see you're sitting on a $150 spread. It's pretty hefty, all right, guys. Now your delta exposure is sitting around $34 and very to little GAM exposure, 3 cents there. But you're at the money IV sitting around 105%. We know within bearish territory, and when you are on the downside, you see upticks in implied volatility, all right? But that's your at the money implied volatility. Moving forward, we have another name reporting this morning. That's JP Morgan, Katina, man. We actually rejected this level here. Open interest, the largest amount, so a supply zone, and not having the ability to be absorbed in the pre-market. But let's see what happens after the bell rings. 9,000 contracts still currently open at that marker with volume around 5,500. Now for the bid in the ask, we're sitting on a $25 spread. And just by our delta, we can tell that we are slightly OTM on this name, a little bit more considering the report. Now at the money IV, still sitting relatively cool, and your gamma exposure is relatively light. But let's move forward over here, and we talk about sideways price action and what happens within your contract. But thankfully, the banks aren't overly volatile. And with this being said, you can see fluctuations within your options contracts from ranging from 50%, 30%, and even a little bit more at times, and they can still make those recoveries. You just need to see a little bit larger of a move. But as for this specific contract, I mean, 12% to the downside, that will change after the open. Your bid in the ask and your Greek metrics will change as well, considering it did slide. But you may be saved on a little bit of premium just due to the fact of the increase in implied volatility. Let's see what happens with these names after the open. Let's send it back to the desk.
Wow. Thanks, Joe. And you mentioned one of the banks that...
Yeah, lots of bank coverage, right?
A lot of bank coverage we like, but they're all to the downside. BAC, I think part of the problem... there's a lot of Goldman stacks talk in the chat, which is rightfully so, because the comparisons are going to get made. And if you look at what was driving a lot of the growth, BC even had a beat. Trading profits were just, sales and trading revenue were just a big beat for everybody. But in comparison, Goldman took the cake. And so you're going to get that direct comparison, or like that's going to be better. And then Morgan, who we don't get till tomorrow because they just want to be different, I think they're probably going to be better as well. So I think the opportunity in some of the other banks would be to just wait it out and look for the dip. Like you have prior 52-week highs that you could fall into with even a small move, or if it gets deep, the 50-period moving average. Like these are all upward trending in a pretty safer-ish place to be. So that's one that does stand out because they were good. They're all good numbers, but let's be real. It's because of Goldman stacks that everybody is going gaga. And they're only up 3%. It was just 20 billion versus 16 billion in revenue. It's like, yeah, you know, like every now and then you look under the rug and you find an extra 4 billion just laying around, and congratulations to them. Only 3 points probably speaks more to just the way that this has already been moving in the last year and a half and how it's been playing out this year as well. And I would expect the same thing out of Morgan Stanley when we get their earnings. Like you got to put it into perspective. This is a bank that's gone 50% from March. So, you know, when everyone's expecting good, like how much more are you going to get? You're just not going to get 10% move out of them when the banks have already priced all this in. Right? They'll pass the stress test and raise the dividends, and Goldman raised their dividend again by another 10%. So you're just going to get more of the same. But they can still have a break of the all-time high can at least be coming out there. But that's why you got to get into these when they're dipping. The time to buy the banks is when everyone else is like, the banks don't look all that good. Well, they just print. Blicky Spears, good morning to you, and thank you for the super chat. Best of luck today to you. Best of luck to everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for all that. And I was saying yesterday that I thought the XLF, or maybe, today on, some of these earnings might be a day to start picking up some XLF. I mean, as Neil said, some of these banks back there in March, April, well depressed. We'll see if we can get even more depressed there today. I mean, I don't think you buy it today, but you wait a couple of days. It's always a 3-day rule, right? I mean, if we like the JP Morgan number coming through, it's basing out right now. It's trying to give us, this 325 area. So we're looking for a break here of 327, right? Hold the base, hit that. We do have CPI coming out right now at 8:30. So let's go back over to Adira.
Yeah, well, guys, we are now about 40 seconds away from those CPI prints. Those are the only numbers we're getting all day today. So let's get right into what we're expecting. CPI year over year here, forecast 3.8%, prior print 4.2%. CPI month over month negative 0.1% is what we're expecting. Prior print 0.5%. So once again, guys, we actually are expecting a little bit of cooling off here for the non-core prints, both year over year and month over month. Core CPI year over year forecast 2.8%, prior print 2.9%. Core CPI month over month 0.2% versus 0.2% expected. So these core prints are more or less expected to be similar to what we saw last month. Now we know yesterday we had comments from some Feds, I believe Feds Waller, saying that he's kind of really watching core carefully. So these core numbers are going to matter, and we're expecting them at any moment. Inflation here, 3.5%. So it's going to be well below the 3.8% expected. CPI month over month, negative 0.4% versus the forecast of negative 0.1%. Core CPI year over year, 2.6% versus 2.8% expected. And core CPI month over month flat versus 0.2% expected. All of these prints cooler than expected and cooler than the prior print. S&P 500 trading sharply higher here in response. Guys, this is a great look here for how the market's reacting to this.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 29. Okay, so the NASDAQ futures are 29.9, but the Q's now 1.4% shooting to the upside. So they're loving it. They like it a lot, and the money is absolutely flowing in. The first thing I got to check after we look at the futures is, the buyers don't want to buy IBM. But hey, they want to buy everything else. Sorry, had to check. Have to look. You want to see if the weak names are getting a bounce too on this, and not really. So Nvidia up around 208. I think if you were looking dip buys on any stocks, that's probably going to suck. I'm looking for things that might be lagging a little bit in chip space. Intel's up 4%. That's looking incredibly strong. One thing you got to remember, you never want to completely overreact to these types of numbers, like especially the 830 spike. That said, we were gapped up. We were holding some support that was prior resistance on the Qs. And they're shrugging off this. They're shrugging off this. I guess we'll call it software Mageddon or whatever we're calling this IBM move for a little bit of an upside. So, yeah, I mean it's a good start, but I don't want to be buying any tops here, getting completely out of whack. Silver now 3% up. Wow, just looked over there.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on here. Yeah, we've seen pullbacks before, and there's a big Nasdaq number as CPI going out there 2.6 versus 2.8. Core CPI year over year, CPI year over year, June 3.5 versus 3.8, so a little lower on what we're seeing right now. So that's a good shot to the upside there as we hopeful that, we'll have to wait. Warsh is coming today. A lot of talk here on what the Fed rates are going to do. Yesterday we were at 1/3, 2/3, and it's sort of what we are right here. Again, 63% chance of no rate hike. Right there, 36% chance of a rate hike with this cooler CPI here. I think that helps bring this number a little down. So I think that's why the market now starting to get going. We will adjust our look very, very soon to that play as well. And have a look over here. That's why we talked about the U.S. dollar earlier. Whoopsie daisies. There goes the U.S. dollar, like a huge move right there down for the USD here over a 15-minute chart. So yeah, pretty violently moving. There is the U.S. dollar and is the NASDAQ. So there it goes, man. And look, just another lever there on the CPI. We'll have to wait to see what Warsh is up to, but yeah, good thing that's happening today as we get that discussion. So yeah, nice downside move here for the DXY as well. And yeah, really helping out that market. We've seen the pullback in the past. So there it goes, man. Nice move higher. Did that help some of the banks get back? Yeah, there it goes, man. We just talked about well, not really. There's not too much volume. Spread is still $1. But that's a nice little look. Breaking back above that 325 marker again there. So yeah, good. Save the day is CPI and whatnot there. So okay, you talked about Trump maybe tweeting things out. We'll have to wait to see what happens with JP Morgan and the rest of them here today and see if we do get a little bit of a pullback. You were talking about IBM possibly with President Trump. So they're getting a nice little bump now as well. Maybe that 220 was a base that we can look at here trying to go long. But yeah, there goes CPI. There goes Bitcoin as well to the upside. So, a lot of stuff happening right now. It's too bad because I had just put out, I'm just editing the final last words here on the sticky note. I did have, IBIT written down as a long, but now you're up 2%. So that should help it as well. We'll get some carry forward, see if we can hold this nice move higher there. Great number, it's 835 right here. And the futures are helping us get a little bit better. Yesterday we were down 1.5%. Today we're up 1.5%. Let's see if we can hold this bid.
We'll talk about Google right now, actually also holding a bid. A couple different stories with GeoOGL. Main one, of course, coming out of Switzerland with some concerns there we'll get into in a second. There was a story as well, pretty minor, that came out right before we got this CPI reading, which is basically just that they're going to be having some more Gemini Chrome availability here, I guess, in the UK, and then also rolling that out more in iOS. But let's talk about the Switzerland concerns.
Yeah, let's do that. What they're doing is they've decided to remove the Android setup screen that lets Swiss users choose their default search engine. That aggravated the Swiss regulator, and they're taking action. So just to give you some background information here, so Switzerland is obviously not part of the European Union, nor is it part of the European Economic Area. As such, it's not subject to their regulations. So they're going at this alone. So why am I telling you this? Because Google unilaterally decided back in 2021 that it was going to give Swiss residents and people living in Switzerland activating a new device this choice, like they did with the other European nations. So it was on their own accord that they decided to do this, knowing full well that maybe the Swiss regulator doesn't have the legal teeth to be able to enforce this against them, okay? So that is something that we need to keep in mind here. But the Swiss regulator says very clearly that this move weaponizes default configuration bias against unmanaged retail consumer activating new hardware. So for example, your DuckDuckGo, your Microsoft Bing, right? You were able to choose those as either your default engine or Google or whatever you so chose. You don't have that choice anymore. So that's kind of what this whole thing comes down to. The structural outcome of this, though, we can read through, will have more implications than just on Google. Comes to mind immediately is Apple, right? Putting a direct target on their native Safari Google search default pact, right? We know that Google pays Apple about $20 billion US per year to be the #1 search engine, and that puts that directly in the crosshairs, Adara.
Yeah, we also here, in addition to GeoOGL, just want to let you guys know, as we've mentioned a couple times, Sean mentioning most recently here, Kevin Warsh is testifying in front of the House for his first ever semi-annual monetary policy report to Congress as the new chair of the Federal Reserve. His prepared remarks were released at 8:30 a.m., basically at the same time here as CPI. Nothing massive here. I mean, nothing really out of the ordinary, but of course saying, as you would probably hope and expect, the Fed has no tolerance for persistently high inflation. How are you guys feeling about GeoOGL here?
You know, it's a little disappointing in Alphabet. Like I'm looking at the bumps that are across the board on the CPI print, and we showed you a bunch of charts. You could look at DRAM, which is going absolutely ham right now to the upside. Obviously, the Nasdaq's up a point plus. We showed silver and IBIT, which had massive bounces. Alphabet's back to yesterday's close and not really doing much with it. So I'd say a little bit of disappointment here for Alphabet, and it's not the end of the world. I think right now, like you're just sort of seeing the Mag 7, each of them doing their own little bit of a thing, and technically Google's in a bit of a pullback. I think part of it, you could make the argument that Nvidia and Meta got cheap, relatively cheap compared to the other mags, and maybe that's where a little bit more buying has wanted to go lately. You saw the Nvidia breakout as well. So I think that could be it. Maybe this story matters a lot. I tend to not be as concerned when European regulators come at the big boys because I know it's just a sign that they're doing some things right for them to maintain their dominance. But at the end of the day, this feels like it's relatively weak, at least in the temporary turn. And that money seems to want to be going in Mag 7 land. Well, I excluded Apple. That was a great one yesterday. But Nvidia, a little bit stronger here. I think the same thing can be said of Meta as well. But yeah, obviously the CPI print rose a lot of ships. But if you didn't get green on that, you got to be at least a little bit concerned for the day, at least.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this earlier. Like, well, first of all, Bitcoin's still 63.5, still trying to go. I was just looking at that right there. But no, I want Google to kind of get a little lower, to be honest with you. I mean, this is a name that I'm trying to buy more of. But it's right at the levels that where we had most recently bought. I think it was 348 was the most recent price. So that's basically as good as right here. Would like to get a little bit more. So if there is some sort of negativity around surviving Google, then I think they're just a huge. I think like Waymo is apparently, you know, in the self-automated driving sector, like ahead of anything that Tesla has right now. We've seen sort of the Waymos driving around your local neighborhoods there, San Francisco, Austin, so on and so forth. But I like Google, and I think we want to get a little more in the account. So today, I'm not sure. Flattish on the day, considering what we've seen here in the market. And of course, as you know, discussed, here comes the market pulling right back. So no surprise there. Yeah, so another name that we like there, Google for sure. I just want to buy more of it. So at the end of the day, I think, you know, if you're diversified, it's great, but I don't mind being weighted on Google. Good one. Their VMAR, low float, Q2 pre-market surge. So yeah, I don't know anything about this VMAR stock, but we can definitely have a look at what the price action is looking like here. Vision Marine Tech. Yeah, on the daily, looks like we just had either a split or something. This is what it looks like here on eSignal. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the VMAR rate here, why it even looks like this right now on eSignal. So maybe it's a different kind of a stock, but there it is, VMAR. Yeah, we just had from 20 cents split up to 340. So we went like, I don't know, 15 to 1 or so there. And now we've come back in. So a little bit, that's probably a split. This is probably a reverse split as well. So a stock that's really worth nothing here, trying to go. And I guess that's why the reverse split there from 1 cent up to $5. And then again, so that's why we have that low float issue, because they kept on taking shares back and, you know, pricing it much higher. So to stay above that dollar. So this is a very, very dangerous name, man. I mean, this chart looks like this, but it's not really. I just showed you how it looks like on eSignal there. A stock that's really been beat up for a very, very long time. Marine Tech here. Just watch out, I guess. I mean, this is a daily chart. If you're going to look here, what's been doing this morning, I don't know, man. You're underneath VWAP. To me, this looks like a short, but, you know, thanks for bringing it up. It's only done, it's done 20 million, which is quite large. But VMAR to the downside, it looks like here, pretty good off of VWAP. So let's wait to see what happens if we can break through. But pretty aggressive and wild stock yesterday. It was $2 at 3 o'clock, $1.30 at 4 o'clock. So yeah, this looks like a pretty good level here to short $2 VMAR. So if you're in that one, just be careful about the $2 mark. Like you just lost right there at the close. Quite a lot right there. $2 down to 130, so you lose 50% just like that. So be careful with VMAR, it looks like. But yeah, another good one there that's reverse split a bunch of times. So.
Yeah, thanks for. Oh, they reported yesterday. It looks like there's no catalyst for it today. It looks like it's just a day 2 play. That's why you see the volume spike. But you have to really be careful about those habitual line steppers. But you know what is at a line? Sharif, NXTC. It's on your radar because it's over VWAP, in my guess, but it is barely hanging on. I saw Luis in the chat. They were looking short on that one, and it is back into the volume-weighted average price. So a small capper on the watch list that is teetering. I ask you a question, Sharif. I've seen you short a couple times. I know it does happen. We already have at least 2 or 3 small cappers that are looking like they want to fade. Are there any shorts in your horizon? I know Luis says yes.
Yeah, well, Luis is he's the expert in that, Neil, so we'll leave that to him. But guys, NXTC, does look like it is having a lot of trouble with $10. There are no closing prints on the 5-minute chart above that 10, despite the fact that it was easily able to spike into 12. But look how seldomly it was able to spend any time above that. Still up 277%. We're looking at the volume weighted average price at around 7 3/4. It's a good look. Let's see if it holds up. But you know what I'm looking at, Neil? LHAI. Look at this one rip, and here comes 150. We are stair-stepping up, and we're also holding structure. 130 was an obvious area of resistance on the breakout. It is now being used as support. I'm speaking about LHAI, up 43% at that critical level, Adair, of 150.
Now let's talk about a larger name here that's certainly holding up quite well. That's AAOI. Nice catalyst here. Expansion over in Texas, one of their facilities.
Applied Optoelectronics announced they've begun construction on 2 adjacent manufacturing facilities in Pearland, Texas. That's going to add about 400,000 square feet to their production capacity. It's designed to support increased production of the 800G and 1.6T optical transceivers. There's also critical components that are going to be manufactured manufactured there that are used in AI data centers and that move massive amounts of data, especially on high-speed fiber optic networks. So very much involved in the AI stack is AAOI.
Another AI-related story here is for CleanSpark, CLSK, the pretty massive data center lease over the next 20 years, valued at $6.6 billion.
Exactly, 20-year lease, as Adara mentioned. Sandersville, Georgia, data center expected to generate about $6.6 billion in contract revenue over the initial term. The agreement includes 2 5-year extension options that could increase the total contracted revenue to about $11.6 billion. That expands their long-term cash availability markedly, so something to look out there for on their next earnings report. Let's see what the operating income as well as free cash flow are. Customers are going to deploy what they're calling production-grade infrastructure, which is going to support a broad range of computing workloads. It's not just going to be for AI. As we know, this company, Adara, they used to mine Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, so very much experienced in these large GPU clusters in a data center figure.
CLSK, AOI. Are you watching either of these tickers today, Neil?
I think CleanSpark needs to be at least watched. It's up 19 points, so maybe you don't want to be chasing it. But if you actually look under the hood for this bad boy, if they make expectations at their next earnings, they're going to be under a 20 PE. It's got like a 40-something% short float as well. Like you put those two things together, there's a there, for lack of a better term. And much like one of the things we'll always talk about for gappers, at least you'll hear almost everyone around here talk about for gappers, is look where we're at. We're back above the volume weighted average price. We're trending pretty well here. You're holding on to key 14 level. That said, the support hasn't been at VWAP. Right, like the support for the stock was at some prior local highs. Like the most recent on the gap down was right here at about $14, and that's pretty much where it's holding. So, in my opinion, like it could lose VWAP or have deep wicks underneath VWAP and still get a chance to go. But over 40% short float and a chance that the next report can make them reasonably priced. I mean, come on, like what else can you look for? I think this one looks like a good dip buy in here today. We're still actually getting a pretty decent hold. We always say like don't chase the market exuberance on an 830 number, or don't freak out if at 830 we have a number and we go down too heavily. So you made an initial top, but we're catching a bit of a bid on the way back in here. What you don't want to see usually is if we get to 915, 920, and the entire breakout is given back by the market. But for now, it's still putting in a bit of a lower high. It's only been 15 minutes, I get that. But you know, we've seen it before where you don't get many green candles after the big spike up. For now, they're trying to hold some higher lows here in the market. Trying.
Yeah, it should be I feel like this should be a good day now that we're starting to get to the upside. You guys were asking yesterday or this morning about the TQs because yesterday we had shorted them. And I'm thinking almost something similar right here, $76. I mean, we've now seen that top. We could easily come back in. I mean, we mentioned that on that CPI print, up 1.5%, now pulling back into the downside. So definitely the TQs here look like they may want to operate downside right here for the moment anyways. Yeah, for me, it's going back to the same kind of names here, the Apples of this world. Really strong name, but that's come back in now immediately. That's actually getting lower than where we were now prior to CPI. So that's not a great little look there for Apple. And then just going over like SPCX, you know, this is another name that we've really traded a lot, you know, since its IPO, obviously. And nice comeback, man. I mean, yesterday it got as low as what, 137 was the low there, 136.80. We actually have this print in our account yesterday. But yeah, nice move higher there off of 135, right? I mean, 135 was the posted print there for SPCX. And then we went back and tested it. We've traveled almost down $90, right? I mean, it was 225 at its high, SpaceX, now down to 135. So, you know, well discussed and hit to the low side there, SpaceX. We'll have to have a look here. I did pay for shorts on this name as well, SKHY. Definitely rocking today as IBM comes out and says, hey, man, a lot of people putting money towards, guess what, you know, memory and the data center build out and, you know, making sure that CapEx is set aside for that and not as much for IBM and, you know, their software and some of their services provided. So you're seeing IBM to the downside and SK Hynix to the upside, up 9%. So here we go, man. Day 3, SK Hynix above its highest point. So we're gonna have to wait to see. Now remember, SK, this is because this is from yesterday. So SKHYV is the symbol that we had. I'm gonna have to call it up here on eSignal just to give you a shout, because we don't have that look here from our system. But this is what I was saying, that yesterday's high there of 162, we came out at 170, so we still have a ways to go to get back up to here. Looking at maybe a short in this area between 171 to 172 right here to see if we could get some trading going on there. We've only spent maybe, an hour or two above 172. So if we can get up there on a big move, maybe a short. But for me, I wrote down SK Hynix as a long today. So we're going to be looking for those longs. And I wrote down here, this is before the move higher. We were chilling around 160, 161. I'm looking between 155 to 156, somewhere in here for a long. That was sort of that bouncing spot there that we couldn't get through. Eventually we closed near those lows. And then today it's like, hello, up another 8%. So I like SK Hynix somewhere around this 155 to 156 area. So SKHY today on the look, as is SpaceX. So both these names on recent IPOs upside, but I feel like the fade is here at 170 if we can get that. And then I do like the long 155 to 156 on SK Hynix. So yeah, man, this is what we're doing over here. We're happy. I saw Raheem's in the back there getting ready to rock and roll. So you just let me know there. I think my earpiece is working, Andre, and we can go back when that is all scheduled up one more time. Wow, IBIT really starting to scream higher right now. Bitcoin 63, like it was at 63,000 before this number. Now you can see it's starting to go back there to the upside again. So that's something to look at. And then the dollar still wavering just a little bit now, trying to pull back. But yeah, so far so good here. Here, go to a 1 minute chart, and then we'll go back over to the desk immediately. So even though the market has decided to come back in a little bit, the dollar not super strong yet. So we're looking for a stronger dollar to make sure that if this move continues or not here in the NASDAQ. So, all right, I think we're ready to go. So let's go back to the desk. Raheem with Adara.
Very excited to welcome back, not just to the show, but to the city of Toronto, Raheem Alani from OCI. He went on a trip to another province in Canada that I know you're very excited to talk about here with regards to the market and some stuff we're going to want to know.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. I do travel a lot, but this not too often do I get to stay in Canada and still come back with some business intel for our audience.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into the Calgary Stampede. I believe you alluded to this last time off camera, maybe not on camera.
Right.
But let's just talk about what all kind of went on there. What kind of meetings did you go to? What was the general vibe that was happening there? Yeah,
no, I remember I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I was going to Stampede, and I invited some of the audience if they wanted to come out and meet me somewhere, and I'll buy them a drink. But Stampede was a good time. I was there just for a couple of days, just around some of the business that's happening in the province of Alberta. Like a lot of places, there's interaction around AI, there's interaction around oil and gas, and that happens in multiple parts in the United States. But in Alberta, it's all happening kind of one time because they have access to so much oil, nat gas, plus land. And so now there is AI investment and tech investment also happening in the province. So it's a lot of things that are happening all at one time and multiple interlays of governments and business all happening. So it was a really interesting time to be at Stampede.
I'm just going to ask you directly here about Meta, because I'm sure maybe some viewers are putting the connection together here. Yeah. Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, Meta. Do you want to get into this deal a little bit more, because this was pretty massive when Meta made this announcement last week?
So we were actually there on the day of, and they made the big announcement. So $15 billion, Alberta is going to be home to a new data center for Meta. It's going to be north of a place called Sturgeon Lake, and the key players were all at one of the events that we were at. And it was really interesting to hear some of the stats that Premier Smith talked about, Invest Alberta talked about, was the fact that they could do a closed loop water system, the fact that they have access to so much natural gas already there. So they're going to be able to process that in advance of the data center being set up. That's going to bring costs down for people that live there. That's going to be great. But the nat gas will actually feed that data center for everything that it needs, and land. It's the size of 6 refineries, I believe they said. Wow. And I think 12 or 15 football stadiums. Don't quote me on that. But the fact that you have that much room, access to that much land, and the power sources that you need makes it really interesting. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that data center activity happening in the province of Alberta.
Yeah, certainly I think something to watch out for. Now, obviously, some of the players here in this Meta deal, they were going to be at this stampede. What other businesses or governments, representatives rather, can you kind of tell us were at this event that you were able to see or interact with?
On two sides, it was really interesting. On the one side, we were at a roundtable with tech companies, and when I've gone to Stampede in the past, I've never seen tech companies sitting in the same room. And it was actually interesting because it was an Indian roundtable, so you see a bunch of people from India all wearing cowboy hats. And it was something I don't think I'd ever look back and said, I'm going to see that one day. So no, never thought I'd see that. But we were in a room of tech executives and the High Commissioner of India, and you heard them all talking about the number of people that they were hiring in the province of Alberta because of the fact tax friendly. And I'm not going to shtick for Alberta, but it was such a place that people wanted to do business, and these companies are hiring massive amounts of people. So Alberta, I mean, whether you're looking at data center, whether you're looking at picks and shovels, whether you're looking at real estate, one gentleman was there from real estate saying how low the vacancy rates he's seeing. So there's that one element that you can look at from a business point of view if you're looking at Alberta, those sorts of things on the investment side. On the other side of the coin, government to government, we were with our friends from the United States. The province of Ontario, which I never, again, thought would be at Stampede, they were there in large numbers. The Premier was there, a number of ministers were there. And that was all about, there's an announcement coming about an Ontario-Alberta possible connectivity on pipeline. And that'll be interesting for a number of reasons, because once you get to Ontario, you get Canada's largest market, easier access to the US, easier access to the Atlantic as well. So that was really interesting to see that Ontario made that push. And then thirdly was, of course, the Americans that were there. They did a big event as well with the American Chamber, and Premier Smith and the ambassadors were all there, and just showing that connectivity that Canada and US have, and US is the biggest market for Canada. So it was interesting to see all these different pockets of people intersecting.
So I guess as well here, this is a little bit speculative perhaps. So the Stampede, to my understanding, happens once a year. So we're going to have like roughly 365 days till this happens again. I guess up until that point, what should, investors, people who are just watching and curious, look out for kind of more signs of stuff happening here in Alberta with tech and business, et cetera, but also, just kind of in general in Canada, as we kind of see again, like lots of these different governments and tech companies coming. What is there, do you think, to kind of look forward to? What announcements to be aware of as, this Canadian investment heats up?
Sure, I think firstly is as we see every day with what's happening in the Middle East and in the Strait, is it going to be $75 oil? Is it going to be $85 oil? Is it going to be $120 oil? Are we going to get back into the 60s? So just taking that as a lens, if you have an opinion on which way that's going to go and when that's going to go, then you look at other jurisdictions. The United States obviously has a lot of access to oil. Canada has a lot of access to oil. So you look at some of the Canadian names that might be facilitating either the East-West that may come, or then the North-South action that's already there, or is Alberta also looking at the BC angle and going out west? So if you want to get into kind of the longer-term play, there's the picks and shovels. There's people that are going to be building pipelines and doing all of those things. There's the oil and gas, just on the immediacy of it. If you think oil and gas is going to change based on what's happening in the Strait, you look at Canada as a safe haven, and you're seeing some of these oil and gas names that are, again, we've talked about before, 20, 30, 40% that you're getting on mid to large caps that you don't typically get. And then if you want to go kind of take that outside lens that a lot of the states are particularly taking, Texas, Louisiana, different places that are supplementing their oil and gas with the right-sized AI opportunities, data center opportunities. Alberta is looking to be a home for data centers here in Canada, and slightly more competitive than probably the other provinces on a variety of factors. So those are the lenses that you might want to look at.
Thank you so much for going over that, and thank you for recapping what sounds like a very exciting trip to Calgary for the Stampede. Once again, here is our friend Rahim Alani over at OCI.
Always a pleasure to have Rahim. And when he talks about energy and picks and shovels and like where you can go, I think a lot of our viewers, if you're looking at maybe like a U.S. stock for that, you might think about a VLO, Valero. I only mention them because, hey, you're at the highs. We're at all-time high. And 300 in play. So look, if that's where you're looking, there are plenty of things that are going to be outstripping the actual move that we see up. So despite the fact that I think, to the surprise of some of the estimates here, the CPI prints were a little bit light, USO has been going up. But you don't want to completely ignore that. Energy has been going higher, and we're actually still bouncing. So that theme hasn't really changed despite the exuberance we're seeing so far this morning. You're still seeing the theme play out that energy is back into the upside. Feel is a great way to play it, and thanks to Raheem for coming in. We're going to have some upgrades and downgrades. I don't know if the analysts would have been fast enough for some of the software names, so I'm assuming we'll see some bank
maybe not
upgrades. But I think tomorrow we're going to see the software downgrades because there's no chance they could have been that quick.
Maybe intraday, who knows?
Yeah, maybe intraday, that's a good point. Joey?
Happen.
Very valid point, guys. We're going to see some intraday actions probably during the middle of the session. We'll get those banks and we'll get some software updates. But we're going to kick things with some downgrades here today. Surprisingly so, IBM. I tried to look at the more positive side of things with IBM, guys. But we're going to take a look at Circle going from a neutral weight to an underweight here in a $50 price target. That's down from $85, guys, by Mizuho. Down 2.25% here today. And Apple also getting the downgrade, going from a sector weight to an underweight and a $250 price target by KeyBank. Progressive also getting the downgrade, guys. You're down 0.5%, a little bit more, going from an overweight to neutral weight with a $250 price target. JP Morgan, a name that reported this morning. Avalon Bay Communities down 1/4. Overweight to equal weight, guys, with a $205 price target. That's actually up from $203, all right? Moving forward, surprisingly so, IBM, a name that is down substantially, getting a price target increase here by Oppenheimer to $350. That's up from $320. Micron also getting the nod, guys, with an overweight rating and a price target increase to $1,750 by KeyBank. And then we have TKO Holdings. I don't think this is because of Conor McGregor, but going from a neutral to a buy with a $210 price target. We're up a little bit here, more than 0.4%, guys. Seaport Global giving him the nod. And then Fuel Cell up 7% here this morning with a $27 price target. That is up from $22 from UBS. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Well, that IBM upgrade got nuked for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that was funny that came and then that happened. I wonder.
That's unfortunate.
When that came through.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
But, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Fuel Cell with an upgrade, and that could be a turnaround stock. Like, that's actually been down almost, what are we down here? I want to say it did get cut in half. It got cut exactly in half from the highs, and it has been, there's your rounded bottom. It's exactly the kind of stock that if you hold this 20, break this 2140, you have a room to rally and a lot of room to be able to go. Already up 10%, but like you got to keep that in mind. As I said, within a week and a half, the stock was basically cut in half. So the 10%, you got to put that in perspective. $2 on this thing isn't the same thing as 10% in other places. So it's going to be a bit of a mover here in FCell. But I'm going to put this one on a side burner. If it had better, the reason it can't make a top of the list is our vol's not very good. Like, it's not doing a ton of pre-market volume here for FCell, but it should be on some radars. Yeah, that's terribly unfortunate for that Oppenheimer upgrade.
I got to ask Joe here because TKO is getting knocked out right now. Like 215 down to 180. It hasn't really caught a bid in the last couple weeks, and you're right back into a level again. And yeah, with like one of the worst UFC cards I've ever seen last weekend there. Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for this 181. I mean, this looks pretty much like that flat bottom break. Like this looks like we are going to break through these April lows again for TKO. And the thing about that is if you do break through there, then you have 175, which I don't think will hold either. And then you're back down into these areas. So again, I don't really know what's completely wrong with this. WWE having problems selling tickets. Like I said, UFC didn't. That was the largest gate in their history on Saturday. But you know, it's one of those names you got to do a little bit more research on because they caught an upgrade. So yeah. TKO today, downside, but an interesting level there to look at. And I just always, Netflix, WWE's on Netflix. Netflix did have, has been getting part of the fight game as well. Not WFC proper, that's Paramount, but this is what Netflix was doing yesterday as well, $75 down to 73. So not a great day for Netflix. We'll see again today down another 1%. And this is looking also, like a potential break zone here for Netflix, breaking underneath that $70 mark. So you're just at 73 today. We'll wait to see what happens again at 70 for NFLX. Looking not so great right there. Yeah, I should say, I don't know if I guess it was the results of the card, right? I mean, the second fight there, Paddy Pimblett was less than a minute, and then so the two main events were less than 1 minute. So, yeah, I don't know. It was just bad. Connor here,
he's hurt.
Blew out his knee. He's having surgery or something. So he went for one of these kicks early there and blew his knee out. So, but anyways, yeah. So that's it. The end of that. So yeah, TKO downside there. Let's have a quick check on IBM, see if that's battling back at all. We are going to go through our rundown very soon. So IBM is on there, so we don't necessarily need to cover this. I just wanted to see what it was doing. Still having a problem with view up there at 230. So, all right, yeah, good coverage there. Thanks, Raheem, for coming through. And let's go back over. Yeah, France versus Spain today. So
big.
Another one, man. The top 4 teams made it to the final 4. Should be great games over the next couple of days. We'll see who can hold fort coming at 3 p.m. But you're with us till then. Let's go back over the desk.
All right, let's look at the futures, guys. 749 and a fifth is where we closed out yesterday. We got a nice big price spike up on the SPY when we got the CPI numbers retracing a little bit lower. Now we're looking at 755. That's the area that we rejected on Friday as a resistance level. We'll look to that same area today as a resistance level 1. But for whatever reason, we've kind of moseyed on up. With some higher lows here. We're no longer looking at 740 as support. In fact, we're looking at that 747.5, which acted as a previous area of resistance as well. That's going to be support level number 1, Adara.
Let's take a look here at the Trader TV Live watch list. This gives you a list of all of the expected economic data and earnings releases. CPI came out at 8:30, and you would know if you got the Trader TV Live watch list because it has it on there. It's got any names that are reporting. That Kevin Warsh testimony here for the House at 10 a.m., that's on there. So every piece of information you need, at least that we know of, going into the day to help you tackle that session with just a little bit more ease and confidence. Let's talk about IBM because this company is not confident in their Q2 results. Preliminary Q2 earnings, bit of a bust roof.
It is, Adara. It was not a good look at all. A 7% collapse in their total infrastructure division. That is basically their legacy Z mainframes, if that makes a difference to anybody. There was a silver lining to that part there. There was a surge in their new distributed infrastructure subsegment, which grew at 37% year over year. That's about a $500 million unfilled order backlog for that specific division. But it is also, this report did disclose contracting margins. And that is a bit of a problem here with their GAAP gross profit narrowing by 100 basis points down to 57.7%. He's saying customers pivoted towards a lower margin third-party commodity hardwares. We're talking about servers, storage, and memory. And they skipped entirely IBM's high-margin proprietary transaction processing software. So the SaaS-mageddon, whatever you want to call it, software-mageddon, we're still seeing hints of that trickle out, Adara. And we also saw the CEO really directly cite, large-scale spending by corporate customers on cybersecurity, so much so that they've had to contract their spending in other divisions, one of those divisions, of course, being his. And he did say that there was also basically just front-loading capital expenditures, Adara, that everybody's spending up a storm, and they don't have enough money to go out for software and SaaS, and that's where they're making cuts.
Yeah, not a great look here for these SaaS names. IBM, of course, leading the charge to the downside. Are you guys watching IBM, and what's the play today?
The play right now is to try to fade.
We're on now.
That being said, the market's doing a good job of pulling back in. Now, IBM, for everyone that's in the chat, I know we've got a lot of questions. Why is Palantir down? Why is ServiceNow down? Why is whatever, insert software name here? Understand that this is a shot across the bow at all of the software names because of the reason why the infrastructure was down 7%. They basically came out and told you that their clients are just spending elsewhere, and that's memory, and it's not them, and you're putting a hurt on just on the revenues, but the margins are also starting to contract for them. So it's not a good look. Obviously, you do this so that hopefully it's not so bad at the report. We already went over that it's at a good level. Me personally, this is a level that's kind of already been bought before. So Like, I'm not stink bidding a level that we already just got, but I do still like the monthly chart on IBM. For today, I was looking at the IGV 9050 level, just basically right back into like a prior low from mid last week, right here on the 9th, right about 90.5, where things got the jump start. So on any pushes up, I want to be looking fades in and around that level, because I feel as if we might get to like a little bit of a software bounce because the market's looking strong, but that's one place that I want to be looking short, where I wouldn't have been thinking this yesterday. 24 hours ago wouldn't have even been a thought. No question about it. But it is now. So if we get strong enough, I just realized don't always trade this, but I shouldn't assume we have locates. We do. There we go. So I want to be looking to fade the IGV today, but I want to see it bounce. Like if we're not getting a chance to play, it's at VWAP right now, so even a slight bounce at the open, you don't want to get run over. I think there can be some relief rally in here, but I'd rather play it with the IGV.
Yeah, I was going to say, like IBM, what a great long there at 20. So we'll have to wait to see if 220 comes back into play right there. I mean, that was, well bought up for sure, right into these levels. So I feel like we will get smacked right off the open. But if we take VWAP right now, then at least we know there's some kind of strength as they're trying to bring this name back so that, the volume weighted average price, if we can get above that, then, you're above all of this nonsense and we can hopefully retrace back up to the upside. But yeah, a little bit of a shot there at some of the software names. I mean, for me, it was looking at Palantir. I actually have Palantir written down here on the note as well today. Now, everything's changed a little bit because I did write everything down before we even got into this number. But Palantir there, 122. It's coming in right now. So that name hasn't moved that much. We'll see if this can get going there. I was going to say it's getting hit here on IBM early earnings miss, but they're operating at a high level. Their profit margins growing. They're sitting on $2 billion in cash. I mean, Palantir is operating fine. It's just getting hit today. And remember, these guys are protecting the software. It's a little bit of a different story here on the large language model side of things for PLTR. So I'm not super concerned for this story for them, but I do think it's giving you a buying opportunity for PLTR. So down 5%. We had a nice little recovery day a little yesterday. We didn't finish near the highs, I don't think, or did we? Yeah, close enough to it. There on Palantir with a nice little rebound there at the end of the day into the after hours. But yeah, the whole NASDAQ got hit there right into close, and then that's a nice battle back to close at the highs of the day. So normally, like whenever that kind of stuff happens there for a stock, I like the long the very next day because you have strength there in the last half hour, good imbalances, everything sort of helped this name get higher, and then of course, we see what happens here today. So I think Palantir is a bid. We just got to wait for it. So right now it looks like it's 122.50 or so. Let's see what happens there off the open. But I like Palantir better than IBM for a trade today.
Time to talk about oil, something that Trump was talking a lot about yesterday, specifically on Truth Social. USO still near highs. We know the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz, the position the U.S. is taking, not too well received by Iran and leading to a lot of questions and concerns from analysts and onlookers.
You're absolutely right, Adara, but let's look at some of the technicals. Last week, we spoke about that $80 level on Brent crude, and my position to you guys was at the time that that's where the majority of the short positions, because that's what we were, basically, what's it called? More short positions than longs in this particular instance. They were all hanging around that $80 level. So we were looking for a decisive clearing of 80 to know that the shorts have been pushed out. Well, there was once, twice, and then on the third, OB, he is the one thrice. We took it out, and now we've got a high there of 87.57. So we should be looking for a bigger squeeze up. That's the first thing that I wanted to mention there. But let's get to the actual story itself, Adara. So President Donald Trump, as you said, announced that while the U.S. will protect traffic in the Strait, the administration is going to demand 20% reimbursement fee on all cargo shipped through the corridor. This basically transforms the U.S. Navy into a profit-generating global protection utility. Despite that, though, and despite the guarantees that the U.S. Navy and President Trump are making, you're not seeing the corollary, I should say, effects in the insurance industry, because you're seeing international maritime insurance syndicates, they're entirely stripping war risk coverage for any vessel that's entering the Persian Gulf. And, this kind of forces commercial liners to completely halt transit regardless of guarantees being made by President Trump. But we also know that, reinstating the naval blockade specifically is designed here to stop Iranian ships or customers from entering or leaving. That's basically the shadow fleet that we've been talking about. And Adara, I would submit to you that this affects Asia far more than it affects North American markets because we already have our oil supply generally. Last but not least here, I wanted to mention that QuantDesk. They're taking a bit of a different view here. What they're looking at, they're already getting their sell programs ready, and they view this 20%, if it's realized, this 20% transit fee as highly inflationary, and it could lead to certain, companies or shipping companies completely foregoing that entirely. So we'll have to see if costs increase through different routes.
I'll have to wait and see here in terms of these costs. I do want to let you guys know, though, actually getting comments a couple minutes ago as we were talking about this story from Netanyahu of Israel on the issue, warning Iran against attacking Israel and saying that, quote, any new Iran attack will draw a much stronger response.
So I think, I don't know. I don't necessarily think this whole 20% fee is something that I don't think it really happens. The same way that no one really thought that the Iranians doing a toll was going to really be something that's going to happen. No one in the international community is going to want it. All of that being said, it's about the fact that it's an escalation. So despite the goodwill the market has this morning with regards to that CPI print, we still are in that upswing in oil. And congrats. We had a viewer in the afternoon was like, for whatever reason, was thinking 120 on USO or bust. So hopefully they're happy. I don't know why after such a massive move, it was up 9%. Going an extra 1% was the bust for one of our viewers. But hey, you got it, so congratulations. The question now becomes, we've broken away from 115, you've broken away from 119, the trend has been higher. If we get a dip, does it hold on? Does it hold on to that 119? Because we're now back into this tit for tat where oil volatility is just going to be there, and we're going to be a little bit headline driven. So we're going to keep our ears to the ground for headlines. I think the natural reaction on the big spikes in volume usually is to do a bit of a reversion. That wasn't immediately clean at 10:30. And if you went with the trend after the fact, okay, they did the pullback. It didn't get all the way back. It was then a good VWAP play. So I think that kind of a deal. Like if you do any kind of a spike, I don't care if it's up or down, but you get a crazy volume spike, it reverts back to VWAP, look for the VWAP play after that. But it's not about predicting what headline you're going to get. I think in USO, you're reacting to it and then looking for that reversion to either play the reversion to VWAP if you're crafty enough. I think the easier thing to do is when it reverts to VWAP, go in the direction the news took it in the first place.
Yeah, I restarted my computer, so
okay.
I can't do any of that. But no, I think with you about USO, yesterday we were up at that 9%. Today you get another 3% going. I think you all always want to play momentum in this space. Yeah. So we'll continue to look at USO as a long and stock battle again. Another stock.
Actually, let's see how that moves.
Look at it was tossing around yesterday once it took that 170 mark. They're down 6% today on Neil's screen there. So
yeah, why would battle be down when US was up 3?
That's what I mean. So you got to watch out for all this kind of stuff. So we'll be paying attention to some battle today and some USO. But here it is, man. Bank earnings. Lots to talk about right now. 4 or 5 of them reported. Let's go find out the stories. And then it's pick your poison, decide which one you like. The only one I think that's up right now is Goldman, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
BAC actually right now poised to open slightly green. They recovered a lot during that earnings call. But yeah, a lot of these you had beating on EPS, beating on sales, but that's really only the tip of the iceberg. Net interest income is certainly going to be on watch, and at least 2 of these off the top of my head, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, kind of disappointed when it came to NII.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 3 red, 2 green so far. We'll see how the day finishes. A lot to cover, so I'll just take JPM. He's the biggest of the bunch. $21.2 billion net income headline, and the frantic narrative of a massive rebound in investment banking fees. Of course, SpaceX's contribution here can't be understated there. But let's talk about these headline numbers, Adara, because they obscure how much profit was actually non-operational. So $7.70 EPS. Looks fantastic, right? Let's look into it a bit more. $4.6 billion of that net gain from accounting adjustments on their Visa shares and an additional $1 billion in gains on separate equity investing. Meaning what? Meaning 26% of the blockbuster net income was driven by a one-line item that won't reoccur again. That's some food for thought. And despite the record-breaking revenues across all sectors, institutional desks, they dumped the stock. It's negative here in the morning. And the reason is management unexpectedly hoisted its full year 2026 adjusted expense outlook by up to 107.5 billion. That is up from the $105 billion that they had guided previously. And the reason they're saying is wage expenses that are going up and CapEx. Yes, they are not spared from technology expenses either, Adara. They've been spending up a storm, and that's being reflected here in the numbers.
Yeah, I was seeing a little bit of doom and gloom from CEO of JPM, Jamie Dimon, this morning. That's kind of par for the course for him. Which banks are you guys looking at today?
Well, I mean, Ball doesn't lie. I'll still take Goldman and Morgan tomorrow over the rest of them, just because I think you can trust the trading and deal revenue for them to lead the way. As far as the trade goes, I actually, we'll just slap the fail because I think it's worthy of it. Because there was the second Sharif said two of 5 are up. I'm like, what are you talking about? BAC's down, and BAC already bounced. So, that one, we were talking about how we liked the report. It was a good report. That's one that you'd probably look to buy the dip on. But sometimes what'll happen, you get that morning call, or the buyers just start to come in a little bit early here on BAC. And now if it's not, the way I look at this now is, well, if you're not getting this kind of a play off of the open, like it just sort of retests and double bottoms 58, like maybe that happens. I don't know. That could happen. It absolutely could happen. But if it's not doing that, then you're just waiting for it to show a close, closing candles over $60, and then you're looking for a breakout play. So this would have been, I would have preferred this one. That's why we were talking about it earlier. All of that being said, I think Goldman Sachs is going to get to all-time highs. Whether or not it's going to do it today, tomorrow, maybe it'll wait till after Morgan Stanley earnings. They don't tend to reward these guys enough, and we've talked about that. Some of it's where they came from, right? Like Goldman Sachs, from these March lows, you're talking about a $300 move. Morgan Stanley's even more. Like Morgan Stanley's gone 50%. Goldman Sachs has gone like almost 40% since March. And I think when you get that kind of a price perfection, there's some ringing of the register in that regard. So if there's one bank that I would look at for the trade, it would be BAC if we get the dip. But I feel like that might have already it's just like the 220 on IBM. It's like, well, it might have already happened.
All right. I was just thinking about JP Morgan, same kind of ways there. We talked about it earlier at 325, really basing out and making us a bottom there. I mean, it looks like it's a pretty clean one. So if we do pull back, which I think we could do, I mean, we will wait to see what these imbalances look like. I was just sort of looking at them. There wasn't too much on there right yet, but I don't even see any bank names on here, and they're all New York names. Even IBM's a pretty small sell. They're at 89,000. So I don't think there's a lot of interest right now overall in many of these plays. So we'll just have to wait for JP Morgan to come back in. I mean, decent volume, 400,000 shares. I like 325. So we'll have to wait to see if that prints. But 324 is the very bottom. Take a 325 fill. Take a 326 fill. Don't do it on a huge amount of shares. You don't want to stand here in case this is a falling knife. But hey, man, it's a trading show, and I think it's a trading idea down here at 3.25. So 325 long for JP Morgan. Looks good on the daily chart here. Looks great today for this. I mean, even looks better on the daily chart. Just wicked down a couple times into this level and, made its way back to the north side here. So now that we're all clear on the banks, we have to wait to see where we go now as earnings are going to be part of the story here today, obviously. And I wanted to check out here just real quick because we did look at this before. See, it was 35% chance of a rate hike before the number at 8:30, the CPI number. Now you're down to 13% chance. So it got hit by a third into it, like from 35 down to 13. So right there, man, now you're way less likely to have any sort of an actionable trade, or not trade, but movement on the rate on the 29th of July. So, banks gonna like that, I think, getting back up there to the upside. So yeah, there we go. A couple good stories there. Good, good earnings, really. Only down 1.5%. I think it's fine for JP Morgan and the rest of them. And we talked about using the XLF as maybe your trading tool. Just if you like the banks, you like the situation, you can get them all right here with the XLF. So I like that one as well. KRE, regional banks. Regional banks are still to come. So if you think that JP Morgan and Bank of America, I mean, these are major, major money center banks. But if you're looking at interest rate sensitive banks, you might be looking more at the regional banks. And there it is. They're having a nice little move here as well. So we'll see if they can get upside there, especially with the new rate information that we have. It looks like we will get no cut or no hike actually come July the 29th. But today is Kevin Warsh, so we will be able to figure out what the Warsh, what do they call them? The task Warshes today is going to be coming through. So KRE, XLF on look today.
Yeah, you got to wonder if there's some kind of polymarket bet somewhere and how many times the words task force are said during this. We're going to have to wait and see. We don't have to wait and see about Apple, though. AAPL is near pre-market lows, despite a really, really strong performance yesterday, or at least to start yesterday off here. KeyBank downgrading the stock here to underweight with a $250 price target.
Concerns over iPhone pricing, carrier subsidies, and what they're calling a decelerating upgrade cycle, hardware upgrade cycle. Mainstream reports kind of attribute the downgrade to theoretical future slowdowns, kind of missing the firm's proprietary, what they're calling KFLD. What does that stand for? KeyBank First Look Data. This apparently tracks millions of real-time U.S. customer credit card transactions. And what it revealed was that spending on Apple products violently, according to the report, not my words, fell 2% month over month in June. What they don't talk about there is the historical tendency of spending to drop on hardware devices as we get close to new product launches. Of course, I'm talking about the September product launch where we're expecting a plethora of new products. That's nowhere to be found in their report. Moreover, their mathematical modeling reveals that recent mid-cycle price hikes ranging from $200 on iPads, $300 on MacBooks, and $1,300 for Mac Studios. That is their high-end computer, of course. They've triggered price elasticity of demand greater than one. What does that mean? That means every extra dollar, this is according to the company, okay? Meaning every extra dollar added to the price tag is physically destroying more than 1 unit of customer demand. That is according to them, but we do know that there's a lot of new products coming out that they don't have information on and that we don't have any historical price comparisons. So to make those comparisons would be a misnomer. I think this is really interesting to basically downgrade them to underweight the day after they make all-time highs. Interesting look.
Yeah, I also want to say here, there was some positive news for Apple as well. Beyond any analyst conjecture, you had the company here, according to IDC, I was seeing roughly 20% growth here year over year for their global shipments for Q2 for China. And that's when global shipments in China generally declined. So Apple does have a positive catalyst here in addition to that downgrade. How are you guys looking at AAPL today?
Look, any way you cut it, it's going to be topping tail candle and in the midst of an all-time high, like kind of pullback. And if it is a little bit of expensive, it's because they've justified it for a long time compared to some of the other mags. But it does feel like you're in a bit of a jaunt to retest support. But support is support. It is upward trending. You've got 306-ish, 305.5 to 307. Call that about the 306 area. If things get hairy, that's where you look today on Apple. We're a bit of ways away from that, and the market's up a point and looks pretty strong. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like that's going to be it. We already talked some BAC. You know we're going to be looking at I already talked about silver. SK Hynix is going to be in play, which we'll talk about there next. But I don't know that we drop $7 on Apple today. If we do, then that's the place that I'd be looking. I think valuation and all-time high, make an all-time high and reject it, pull back, at least for a couple of days.
Yeah, no, I was looking, yesterday we really ran that Apple early, man. We ran it from 320 on this break higher, and we didn't even have it on our radar yesterday. And then this started happening right off the jump, right? And so we actually waited for it to take 320, and when it did, we punched along, and it was huge. But then it only came back, it was the number one stock for me yesterday. But then it came back all day, and yeah, pretty sad for Apple yesterday to come back in right into some of those pre-market levels again and held pretty good, right? And then now today, it's disappointing to see that we're basically under that 316. So for me, that's a short if we get anywhere up there. Down 1.26%. Obviously, we've seen the NASDAQ start to go to the downside as well, although battling back right now on CPI number. Obviously, it's had a nice day with the CPI. And you can see Apple, even when that happened, it just tanked moments after. So yeah, I don't think that there's too much positivity here around AAPL today. I think we got a little bit excited yesterday as it was taking out all-time highs. So just a rest day there for Apple. Again, we got to get above this 200 period if I'm going to trade it. So it's got to break 315. So if we could break 315 on Apple, then I think we can probably hit that long. I think we would like it if that happens. So Apple above 315, we can look for a long. 316 is more clear sailing because that was yesterday's bottoms. So yeah, we want to get the Austin 316 happening right there on a break for Apple. But
Don't miss.
yeah, right now I would say it's red. Like it's a red idea here today. Short side for Apple. Only 1 minute left. Oh my God, SK Hynix.
Imbalances.
What a bounce here for SKHY. You've got two of these leverage ETFs, 2x long SKHX and one-time short SKHZ entering the picture today. Great look for SKHY pre-market.
Yeah, SK Hynix are racing a 9% decline. Same thing with Samsung, up 3%. Let's see how they trade in North American markets.
Good luck, everyone, at that opening bell.
166 was the opening day low on Friday on SK Hynix. So that level, it's already shown you a top at the 830 number and then now a consolidation off of that. So there's that and there's VWAP. So if you're looking for key price levels, VWAP also loosely corresponding and maybe even the prior day high. So that VWAP prior day high will be the keys. For that, didn't really get the chance to talk too much about silver, but we got the opening bell now.
Yes,
and it's
sir.
brought to you by VFS. That is ticker VFS. It is VinFast. Want to shout them out for sponsoring said opening bell. As IBM did bad things to software. Oh, good. Did bad things to software. It's back to 225 after briefly tagging 230. Already starting to come back in here. First look for me, I'm going to be looking at the IGV, as that did just pop off of the open. So pop an IGV off of the open. We didn't talk about SpaceX. That just got up 2% in this relief rally.
Yeah, here goes Nvidia right now as well. I wrote down 205. We can have a quick little look to see if Nvidia gets into 205 today. That would be a long for me. So we'll wait and see. I mean, again, we don't want to sit around and be waiting for something to happen and get run over. But we'll keep watching that one. That's Nvidia. And then Palantir also, man. I mean, 122 is a look that we had on PLTR. So we'll have to continue to wait for that. I don't even have any bids out right now. So we'll put a bid out for Palantir at 122. But it's Nvidia right now to the downside. Oh, here goes. Come on, charts. Switch. There it is. Okay, there's Palantir nicely going now onto the upside there. And IBM, one more look right there. What's up, USO 120? We got this yesterday, Willis Addison there. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. It was
on that one. Here comes IBM right back in. Yeah, we'll look at USO in just a couple of minutes. We want to thank everybody that's watching us right now on TikTok, on YouTube, everywhere. Thanks, Peter. Thanks bravely there for all of your help there on TikTok as well. No matter where you are, guys, we want to thank you for watching us. Enjoy it on TikTok, on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. So here comes IBM. Watch out for that 220 area. Nvidia pulling back in, and what a surprise, man. Looks like the NASDAQ is trying to go for a little bit of a move back in, like right back to CPI levels again. Seems like is happening right now for the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you're going to talk about what's going on crazy in this upside. One of the strongest things was going to be Bitcoin, but what I noticed was Bitcoin straight to the upside, and SLV has been pulling back. So I'm looking for this to break trend and then take a shot at it underneath. It's prior day highs as well, just a little bit above, but I want to look for a trend break here. As we got a super chat, throw the Z's. I love the show, aka Lavadera. Give some love to BTC, please, Moon. Whether it's BTC, BMNR having a fantastic day today, all of crypto looking incredibly strong, relatively strong. That's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit more bearish on SLV, and I want to play this one if it breaks that trend.
Oh no, there goes IBM.
Nothing just, did it lose 220?
Yeah, I just lost 220. I should have punched it and I didn't. Well, you couldn't have anyways because it was SSR.
Yeah.
But there goes IBM right now, an absolute blood, like the.
That's not even a good enough key.
Yeah, no, that's a bad one there.
You gotta get something worse.
Well, we have market red. We have this one. Oh, I don't have my stream deck up. But there we go, man. Yeah, it's a downside play there. Now, wow, 218. So we had looked at 220, man, and had hoped that would have a chance of holding. Not really. IBM just straight down now, $10 even off the open, 227 down to 218 for IBM International Business Machines. And my guy here, Nvidia, is also pulling back. Look at the NASDAQ making those lows or trying to come into it anyways. We'll take a little bit of a bid here. It's a little early, 9:33, but there it is. First trade right now on Nvidia. We want to look for 205. So we're trying to, oh, there it is. We got it. That's the real bid that we wanted down there at 25s or 30s, but we took it a little early on the 200 period. So now we're trying to be patient here with NVIDIA. Let's see if it can mature upside here. NVDA, looking to see if we, I always want to get out on the pre-market kind of lows, but that's too low down there. Well, that's actually 204.50. Yeah, we can wait for some 204.50s. Let's give this a little bit of room here. It's NVIDIA so far.
Yeah, look, nothing's really hitting yet. SLV's really not moving. SK Hynix does not seem to even want to pull back into any reasonable level, so that doesn't seem to be a play just yet. Oh, okay, now that I say it, it is starting to pull back. So SK Hynix 166 was the low on day one on Friday of the ADR opening. Then you've got VWAP, which is up here. There's a breakout price, and I like the prior highs a little bit better than that. So probably 162.5. If it doesn't get to VWAP, I don't want to be chasing this up top because I think that's a little bit too perilous. Just not really seeing. Silver doesn't want to do anything, which is very disappointing. The IGV still trend up, despite 4%. That push down that you just saw breaking that 220 on IBM. The IGV is still putting in new fresh highs, but there's always that reversion play that I'm going to be able to like. So if the market looks weak right now, remember, we're still past breakout levels on the NQ. We catch a bounce there and in the chips, and I think that whole software down, everything else up can finally come into play. But still no break on SLV. Trying to be patient about that one. If I'm going to go into a short on something, you got to show me the confirmation. It's now IGV back. Come on, charts. There we go. You got to show me this trend break. It's just not happening yet.
Yeah, we are. We tried to watch out. I mean, Marvell's up 4% here. I did like Nvidia down there at 205, but here we go, man, breaking lower. So we got to, again, looks like we could possibly take this L right here on Nvidia as it's really come in, chasing it. We only have 1.5 units. We're not being irresponsible here at all, trying to give Nvidia a little bit of room to breathe, but it is pulling back in right now. NVDA, again, a level that I liked, not the greatest right now for Nvidia, watching out for 204. All right, BAC, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were surprised there. When you have the conference call going on, anything can happen. And right now, BAC is continuing to go higher. And yes, to answer your question, Shrimpy Mac, first of all, love some shrimps for sure, especially on the Barbie these days, man. Nothing like some surf and turf going through, that's for sure. Maybe I can get some at Farm Boy. I don't know. I have to ask Joe. But here we go. Nice move up there. We had some El Diablo sausage. I was showing those to Joe yesterday. Very, very great sausage there. We love that. But okay, so there it goes, man. Nice breaking through $60. Yeah, I think BAC could continue. You might have had the winner here on the bank name so far today. Goldman Sachs is cooking. But there's JP Morgan. Yeah, buddy. Things turning upside there now. Now goes green on JP Morgan. We said it was giving us a base right down there at 225. So there goes JP Morgan. And we also suggested maybe looking at the XLF. But you can see today, man, the NASDAQ, ES, both trying to pump through, but holding VWAP right now. So it's a nice move for JP Morgan. I can only imagine that Goldman Sachs also trying to stack up here as well. Up 5% now for Goldman. So yeah, man, some of these names getting a little bit better before they're getting any worse now. It's Goldman Sachs with a nice move today, up 4%. So congratulations to that one. And then I'm looking at Palantir, but looks like we missed that bid there. It didn't get the memo that IBM was tanking. I wrote down 122 here.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. I wrote down 122 there for Palantir on the note. It looks like the bottom happened right away off the open, 122.70. So not enough for me, man. I'm bidding 122 quarters right now on Palantir. So I'll still sit there and wait to see if we can get it back to the upside. But there it goes, man, now 125. And I'm just watching out for this. We could have just got out at O's. So maybe let's put an offer now just for 20% or so in and around 205 there, just because we haven't had the reaction that I thought maybe we would get there. There we go. We take some
IBM 220.
IBM 220 backside again. Okay, so here we go. Now we're long in money all of a sudden now on Nvidia.
Yeah, but IBM back through 220. So it did the fault. I'm not going to call it a false break. It dropped $5 through the 220 levels. I'm not calling it a false break because that's not what it is. But bottoming tail candle, maybe I thought silver might have been something this morning. I thought SK Hynix was going to give us an entry. And the first thing is going to look reversion on this bottom tail and then to VWAP. I think this is kind of real for IBM. So I think scalp trading is going to be the way to go. I'm going to give it to 219 if I can get my stop order in there. and just look for this to hold into that volume weighted average price. I actually chased a little bit. I was trying to get it tighter to the 220 levels. I'm going to try and get some actual 220s, and then we'll see if we can't get into the volume weighted average price. So this ends up being the first trade on IBM. Bit of a surprising one because I'm staring down. Like that market pulls all the way back in, and silver now holding the trend and wanting to break out. Well, it's this simple. If it's holding VWAP and holding the trend, then I got to respect that and start looking for like a scalp VWAP long there for sure. And the other place, if you're looking, and I know we had a super chat about IBIT and crypto in general, almost clean off of VWAP and starting to go higher. A lot of the strength at 930 was in crypto land and looking incredibly good. One more before we continue on. We didn't get much of a chance to talk about SpaceX. For the first time in forever, we haven't really done anything on SpaceX. 145. Remember where it died yesterday at 145 bucks? I'm not including this one in the automatic the market bounces here and this has to hold. So 145, yesterday's top prior support. We get there, I'd look reversion. That's at least one short idea.
Look, we've seen this before here where Nvidia is just absolutely cranked lower and for no reason at all from what I can see. And we don't want to sit around and, unfortunately be victim to this move. So, we just cleared out a little bit there at 205, giving us back to basically flat. And I've put those back in right down here at 204. But if we break through 204, I'm going to get out. We don't need to see this happen. Surprised at what is happening. I'm going to get out of 100% of this trade. And it won't be that big of a hit. We have one unit. Actually, we have a unit and a half now on this. So it's not, normally I'd be layered into this, but it's definitely not operating the same way as the market. And Nvidia right now looks like it wants to even go red on the day, which is not something that I had expected. And here it comes right. Wow, is AMD also getting hit here as well? Looks like we'll go for one.
Intel's over
on our first. No, AMD's cruising right now, up 5%. So yeah, man. I mean, I think Nvidia will be battling back at some point today, but what I think doesn't really matter if the market's not acting properly. So we'll have to wait to see if that is a trade that we can get back into. Oracle was another one of those names that was really crushed there early off IBM. And as you can see now, IBM maturing back up. And so it looks like Oracle is trying to get there too.
Oh, you say that.
IBM fell back in only because it broke through 220 again.
It did. It got to 221.5. Hey, look, it's a green candle. It got to 221.5 and immediately pulled right back in here. But it's kind of on shaky ground, everybody. So this is like an SSR type of play. I still think this is a bad story overall for IBM. And I think you're resting your laurels on the dip buyers liking a little bit of value here and maybe liking the fact that they still get some quantum aspect out of it. But when I looked across the board to see some weakness in chips, like if I think something was a short, I usually go up to SMCI. On my iPad, I wrote 29 down, thinking the market could have gotten this higher, but even SMCI is not going to be too much of a play. I know we haven't really talked too much again about SK Hynix. It's still looking pretty good, but look at this. See that upward trend? Yeah, it's 940. If this doesn't hold, that's one heck of a reversal potential pattern. Like, look at the 170 level. Typically, I like shorting that kind of a move in there for a false break to the upside. So if you can hold this and break out some tops, different story on SK Hynix. I'm just not chasing this one. This was $150 at the open of Blue Ocean last night, and then 160 in the pre-market, and all of a sudden now you're trading at 168. So I'm trying not to chase an SK Hynix. You don't want to get that FOMO, end up buying, and then just flushes right through you. So still just going to stick with that IBM and looking for the volume weighted average price. I do have like halfway to VWAP. I've got a scalp trade in here for 222. If we get that, take about $1.50, and then just try to get the rest of the scalp in at that VWAP.
Yeah, no, I was just looking over there at SK Hynix as well, but yeah, not really at that level. We were talking about maybe shorting through that 172 area, but that doesn't look like that's happening. We almost got back to flat, by the way. Nvidia got through into 60s right there and stopped moving. So yeah, it does look like, especially with this market trying to bounce there and Nvidia not doing it, it does look like there's going to be a problem here. People talking about people talking about ARM and I guess Marvell was up 4%. I don't know. Yeah, it still is. Okay, so at least that's holding for now. But someone said ARM was a bloodbath there today. Yeah, 288. Yeah, what's going on with ARM? Did we get a story here?
The Apple story, cell phone demand, right?
Cell phone demand, yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good guess. I mean, ARM is in.
Actually, it's funny because the same group that downgraded Apple actually maintained overweight and raised the price target on ARM. So
Really?
it's related, but not at all for the reason that I was expecting here. Again, raising its price target on ARM here from $300 to $430 is KeyBank with an overweight rating.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just guessing at it. Like, that's the thing. Like, you know what ends up happening is you do too much of this whole, there needs to be a reason to the madness. And then just remember, ball don't lie, price don't lie. At the end of the day, like, does it really matter what anybody thinks the reason why ARM is relatively weak right now, or why IBM's down 24% as opposed to, like, it could be down 10%, it could be down 12%. The ball doesn't lie here. I just think that if you're looking for the explanation, it's great if something makes sense to you. But yeah, down 3.8 for ARM. The other thing to consider, this is something which is in a downtrend and not really holding its support. Is it crazy to think that ARM could be at $200? I'm not sure that's so crazy. I'm really not. Not at this point. So IBM, it's dancing, but my goodness, are they selling?
Yeah, same thing happens.
It's crazy. Like, it'll get right to 221, and then immediately they're starting to come right back in. So I haven't really moved the offer. I'm looking for it to pop to 221, and that'll be a bit of exit liquidity. But that's seeming like it's almost a little bit too greedy. I might pop a little closer to the buck instead of like $1.52. We got a super chat from Nick. SoFi, you like the move up on SoFi?
It's moving up?
Did 20 break?
What?
No.
SoFi never moves up, does it?
Well, it's moving up now. Sorry about the charts. They're a little slow this morning. 18.6 for SoFi. That's a huge gap to be filled. And remember what happens when it gets close to $20 if it ends up getting up there. This wasn't on my radar today because I liked me some BAC on earnings day. And we're not getting the dip into 58 on BAC. I'm going to slap. Regardless of how this day works out, we're going to fail for that. The banks usually give you like one shot. If it's bank's earnings day and you want to buy the dip on a bank, you're probably only going to get one good crack at it off of the open. If you miss that one, you're stuck in chase and FOMO mode, and that's where it's at. All right, so now we're through. We're finally through that 221. Just hit 222 on IBM. Really, I'm just looking for VWAP in 225 because I still think this is a bit of a dog. And when it gets to VWAP, I might even look short on IGV. So far, so good. And every time I pull up IGV, I'm putting up Blue Ocean. Look at the rest of the software names here today. All green candles. Palantir's probably through the moon at this point, with IGV just blasting into prior highs. So it's an IBM story, no questions asked. And they just decided, hey, we're going to buy the dip in everything that wasn't IBM.
Nice, yeah, good patience there with IBM for sure at that 220 level. Good level there. Okay, so we are off by about a buck on Nvidia there. So we did get taken out at 204, but once we sort of saw that it was, you know, trying to buy that back up, we wanted to play that bottom wick. So we did do that, and then, you know, just trying to look. If I would have held it all, we would have made it all back. But right now we'll be down, you know, not that much, but we're still going to be down on this as we try to hold this back to the upside. I only have a third left of this reload down there, and it wasn't even a reload, it was just a new position. We did get stopped out. It did break 204 on that action. I kind of am trying to learn something here. Like, if when I get stopped out, there's like a wick down there, it means that there's been other traders. And I don't see like a huge amount of volume there, so that's kind of goes against it. But like a big wick down there, and then a stop, and then a move higher, I just use that now as my out. So, you know, in waiting, people always say that, you know, Sean, you should be a little more patient in that. I do agree with that. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, at the same time, it could have bounced at 204.50. And if it would have done that, then I would have been more happy. I would have been happier. There it is now, another out there. Wow, now $1.20 in the money on that one as it's trying to go higher as well. Meta was on the comeback as well today. 661, man, that's been a nice move higher off the open. It looks like we are trying to hold some of those CPI gains. What a great bounce off VWAP there for the market, though. That was a pretty sweet one. So you're seeing that, and now you're seeing Meta up to 662. I feel like this was the levels from yesterday. Yeah, into here. Yeah, so 664 basically highs into yesterday. So we'll see if Meta can get going through that. We're going to try to hold on to this NVIDIA in case it is a good day. But wow, what a day for AMD again. Like new, I don't want to say all-time highs because it's not, but we're getting into that area again. 575, man, we traded up to 575 off the open. Wow. Now pull back into triple fives, and we'll see where that's going from there. But now, wow, big movement there. And then I just saw SPCX just hit on the scanner. What's that doing? Ooh, up to 143 and falling back now.
Oh, I wanted 45.
So this one just came right back into VWAP again for SPCX. Yeah, I didn't really write down any levels for this. I was looking at SK Hynix, but SpaceX on the move back in here.
45 is just from yesterday.
Yeah, for SpaceX. Yeah, I didn't really look at it there today, but I don't mind this VWAP trade there on SpaceX if we're trying to go a little long right here. I just don't know if the long is right, but good area for SpaceX 141.
Yeah, no doubt. SpaceX, for the first time in a while, it just hasn't been the front of the radar. Lozo just mentioned Crowd and PanW are both printing. I want to point out and thank you guys for putting in your symbols that you're interested in. Remember, in the chat, $ticker, $ticker. And that way it'll end up on our radar. It'll end up on our stock visualizer. Tesla has a chance to go red with market strength, so that's worth watching. Because most things are absolutely flying to the upside. So if you found some relative weakness, you want to file that one away and set it aside. Again, I'm still just in IBM. SK Hynix, no pullback into the 66. It got look at the wick into the volume weighted average price. It's just instantly back up $1. So chasing this one was probably the right thing. It's weird. Sometimes patience is good. Aggression probably would have been better. In SK Hynix, but again, I'm not going to do it. IBM's still just kind of cruising back into this volume weighted average price. I just want to get VWAP. And then the second I'm getting VWAP here, I'm looking curl in the IGV. Still only green candles for the IGV.
Oh my God.
As it's absolutely blasting, but it's starting to show some signs of a top. So the reversion in that one could be coming. Market looking good. And I think a lot of it, and we haven't talked about DRAM. There's so much we didn't get into because of this IBM stuff. DRAM holding VWAP as well, but I want this breaking, hold VWAP and break a trend. You got to do it.
This is absolutely insane on Palantir. Palantir's straight up $5.
It's crazy.
Like it's straight fire right now, only down now 1% as PLTR getting excited here again a little bit. So that's a good trade there if anybody's got the long on Palantir. Nice battle back for Google. They're at like sort of an inflection point here where you're at the pre-market. Google, come on, chart change. Where you're at sort of the pre-market highs now for Google, coming right into some of these plays. We got as high as 354, but right into here, 353 and change, trying to hold out on VWAP. I mean, everything was on sale early and nice move higher. But I'm just trying to wait to see if the market's doing anything right now. Let's go back over and take a look at the banks. Wow, JP Morgan, new all-time highs today for JP Morgan, up 2%. So it's close enough to all-time highs, isn't it, Joe, there, buddy? If it closes here, it's a new all-time high. Closing, I don't know if some of these wicks are there. We didn't even get to 343 today, yet we have a wick up there. That's 343. So yeah, new all-time highs incoming there, if not already, for JP Morgan, which means probably Goldman Sachs as well. Yeah, Goldman, wow, up 6%, another bank name that we're into that one as well. We love, and I said this yesterday, man, I said the banks are a good spot here. And you guys asked me yesterday, is it worth holding on to some of these banks, heading into tomorrow? And there it goes, man. Nice movement today for these bank names, and it's still high. Get higher, man. Banks on a roll there today. Another one, Citigroup and WFC, the last one, as we'll look at them all. And they're all upside right now. I don't know if WFC is. I shouldn't say all of them. Yeah, WFC's not.
Down.
But good recovery from then 84 to 88 right there for Wells Fargo, but still making the most of a great earnings day, it looks like today for the bank names. Maybe a little bit of a pullback, but hey, that's a nice shot there. Goldman Sachs is up huge, man. Like Neil said, they magically found some billions of dollars there. So that's well reported and well respected today. But Alibaba, wow, 112 and change. That's trying to come through as well. Hey, put whatever you guys want in the chat, man. We're trying to look for some new names if you guys have anything here. UBXG, and a shout out to everybody that's here on our chat with us, man. Everybody on YouTube, shout out to Calvin. Let me see if we got anybody on TikTok around here. I don't see anybody. Post up if you're on TikTok, man. I'd love to shout you out. Pitch Bull's here as well. Tony's here. MF Dane Generous. IREN going boom, apparently, according to ABCT right there. Roger as well. Shout out to everybody there. I thought I saw someone on TikTok, but that was not it. But yeah, look, here we go, man. UBXG, another name just getting going right now. 8 million shares today. UBXG going higher just off of a halt, a double halt right there for that one. YXT, okay, that's nothing. That's a small one. AXTC, nothing again. Oh, here's our VEE, another name here halting today. We had this yesterday, man, and VE halting once again. Yeah, went up to $38 in the after hours there yesterday. So VEE going upside. But here it is, man. It's Nvidia. So far, so good here, as we're up decently on Nvidia, now up $1.20.
Yeah, so just very quickly, you'll see I did take that I said I was going to go out IBM. Didn't quite get to VWAP. We took what we could on it, and then the first curl on IGV, we'd go short. I also got silver breaking the trend. Of course, it happened at exactly the same time.
Silver.
Come on, IBM. There, I get to hit enter like multiple times. No, but it just came right into 223 multiple times and just couldn't break. You get a pullback off of it, so I'm like, the next pop into 223, we'll just take that out in front, and I was going to go short into IGV, so we'll take the win. It's not as big as we would have liked, but we'll take what we can get. SLV was a simple trend break, so here's your higher lows. There's the trend break. Volume weighted average price sits at 53.4. So we'll take a couple outs into that and then look for 53 is the key price. So if it breaks VWAP, I got to be looking 53 because that's the prior day. There you go. There's your prior day highs. So it's a trend break, but VWAP, then we want those lows at 53. So we'll see what happens there. And SK Hynix, man, just gone. SK Hynix, 172.
Ooh, I don't mind these shorts up here.
SK Hynix. Yeah, well, that's sort of the thing. Like eventually, you get to a price where I'm no longer looking. You're just not looking long up here. I'm going to be looking for a trend break and some kind of a short. Maybe a false break of a big even dollar level could be a way to get in. I don't know, but this one is definitely gone. So I'm imagining DRAM is going to be doing some, putting in some work. No, it's not. Wake up, DRAM.
I shorted a little bit here.
What is DRAM doing? Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what it's doing. Here, we have to look at SKHY. I have to look at I'm just going to go into 172. So here's a longer look there because of the switchover of the symbol. So, we had looked at this before, and, if you just sort of ranch it up right into these levels right here, kind of where we closed. Well, not where we closed. This was in the after hours, and we sort of gapped down, and obviously I stop it at, 7 o'clock there, or 8 o'clock, sorry. So that was sort of one of the highs there. I mean, if you're really looking for a high, 174, all the way up here, 176, 177 is where we touched out at. So, yeah, we're going to be in this, but watch out for that break. And it looks like, yeah, we are getting a lot of love here for SK Hynix. What just happened there? Okay, it broke, and then I don't know what just happened. We got stopped. I don't know. Anyways, we got to get back into SK Hynix. We should have had a winner there. I must have broke 173. All right, what's up, Adara? 172 now? No, what's going on? What's up, Adara?
Keep an eye on Uber, UBER, seeing a whole bunch of headlines, sharing some speculation that this company is going to be trying to acquire Delivery Hero. We've heard similar comments before, but again, seeing a whole bunch of headlines come out here. Uber reportedly in advanced talks, to take over Delivery Hero. Keep an eye on UBER.
Oh, I was just saying to Neil, that would have been huge. Like, we just got stopped out at 173 break, and I look over, and it's at 172.50. And then it's a good thing we were able to get back in, but now it's just $1 in the money. But, wow, that would have been huge. We could have had our whole position there. But it breaks right there out of nowhere and then just comes right back in. So now let's see if we can hold a little bit of that. That's too bad. Like, if I just was a little delayed on putting my order out, we would have been fine. But it does break. Look, we get out right there at 170. Our out is fine. We got out at one. We didn't even have that much of a loss there. 172.60, but it does, I guess, break through. So, yeah, SK Hynix, boo on you right there. Not a great trade there. But we got stopped out on it, so I don't know exactly what was going on there. But SK Hynix right now to the downside. Hopefully, we can hold on to that one for a minute.
Yeah, and
172.64. Yeah,
I did miss that story. We were sort of chatting about
Isn't that crazy, though? I put the 173, and then the price I get out at is 64 the other side.
SK Hynix has been doing that, where you're getting, like, it does these weird false breaks where, like, one dark pool prints above a price, triggering a bunch of orders, but it never really trades above because it's a little bit more thin. Uber, here, we'll just get this out of the way. Just to give some quick thoughts on Uber. No, that's all I wanted to say about Uber, the gates of hell.
Yeah.
Really nothing to add to it there. If you want to look for some bottom, that's a stock that it does not giving you any reasons. About the same as what I think about this candle that got me into the IGV. By the way, IBM got to VWAP, so you take 2 when it could have gone 4. But it doesn't mean you change the strategy. Was looking for the reversion. It was just too good of risk to reward not to take that shot. But ultimately, that one's not going to work out. We'll see how silver does here. SLV, I should say, it's not really silver. We're at VWAP, and then the rest of this will be pulling back into the prior high. So it's a setup that you're going to take. This one is working, but if it bounces the volume weighted average price, stop now just into the break even, right? It's gotten to VWAP. I like VWAP for a reason. Do not want to let this turn into any kind of a losing trade. Now we can just start looking at some other stuff in here. I want it to be all over BA. Well, I mean, BAC is actually calming down a little bit here. So there might be a chance to play this off of $60 and VWAP the prior day high. So maybe a pullback, see if it can hold on to that $60 level. Up 1.7%. The dip buys from the bank stocks on earnings, they tend to just be in the pre-market. You got to be willing to grit your teeth sometimes and hold through the earnings call, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. That's too bad there about this one there for SKHY. That's okay. All right, SMCI, Nvidia, Affirm. Just trying to see if there's anything else on the radar here. Alibaba down to 112. Let's look at Google quickly, a name that we talked about earlier. We could check out, VE just halted again, by the way. Google only up 0.36 right now. So yeah, yesterday we said we'd look at this when it was, it's just reopened again, actually at 9:57. So there it goes now we reopened at 9:57, did not rehalt. But there goes VEE again. Yeah, there's the reopen. And it's just been downside, so it opens back up at 26, coming back into 24, and now trying to get a little higher here is VEE. So we'll see where that one winds up going now. Hopefully breaks through 26 for those of you that are long. That's what you're looking at right now on VEE is, what is the name? I'm just going to keep calling it VEE there. Well, that is basically Twin V power. So yeah, there it goes. Breaking through 26 would be a pretty decent trade, I would think. So we can see if that winds up happening right there. Possible halt on board again if it does break that. That looks like 26.50 would be the level there. We could try to go long if it breaks through 26.50. Not horrible there. Yeah, this like you mentioned the IGV there. I know you're in it, or you looked at it and been talking about it a bit there with IBM as well as IGV. But yeah, look at Palantir and these software names. Just Palantir now green. And we had written it down here, and we just said what we could on. We tried to do it the best we could there. 122 long. I said this exactly. Getting hit here, and it shouldn't be on IBM. And we know it's a strong name, Palantir. So there it goes right there, back up to the upside, up 0.5. So, sometimes stocks take sort of shrapnel, and that looks like that's what's happened there with Palantir. You may not like the stock. I get it. A lot of people don't like Alex Karp, but this is a money printing machine, man. And Palantir doing the best it can right now to get a little higher.
What's a good chart to look at? When you're considering some of the software names, go look at take the chart of the actual stock performance, and then just take the chart of their revenue growth, and put those side by side.
Okay. Yeah,
and if the revenue growth is still going at the same rate and the stock is going in the other direction, that's another way. Instead of just looking at valuations, because valuations are crazy, then what are you going to do? You have to look at something else. If that starts to diverge too much, then that's when you can pick them up. And I think that's a case for Palantir. This is insanity, though. That's program buying. That's what program buying looks like. If anyone ever wondered what it looks like when you have a program that's buying stock, that's what it is. Keep in mind, when something changes, that's a good spot to take profit. Literally, one red candle, and that's where some people will probably start to look to trail. Let's go up to Adair at the desk, 10 o'clock. What's happening now?
I'll tell you what should be happening at any moment. Chair Warsh starting his testimony here at the House Financial Services Committee. This is his semi-annual testimony. His prepared remarks already came out. He said that if the Fed gets policy right, and they will, according to him, the inflation surge of the last 5 years will be a thing of the past. So he's coming in very confident to this House Financial Services Committee. We also had comments here coming in the first half hour of the trading session from National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. He was asked about President Trump's comments yesterday that Iran and the market didn't react too strongly to, about the idea of 20% tariffs, more or less here, 20% fees here for cargo ships. Kevin Hassett said that's just one idea, not necessarily one I guess the U.S. would be going with. Keep an eye on IBM. International Business Machines right now just grinding to the downside, though it has bounced a little bit here off of these lows. Q2 preliminary earnings a lot weaker than expected, and CEO Arvind Krishna said, and I quote, "This quarter we faltered," during the comments about this quarter. Let's take a look here at JP Morgan Chase, which is really strong on the day and continuing to be strong on the day. Great push here off the open for this stock, beating here Q2 EPS and sales estimates despite net income a little bit worse than what we were expecting. And last but not least, let's talk about SK Hynix, SKHY. This name continuing kind of in an uptrend here. not even just from the open, from these lows that we made around 8 a.m. Barclays initiating coverage on SK Hynix. It's its third session of trading in America following its U.S. debut / U.S. IPO. Of course, an established name here in South Korea. Barclays gave this company an overweight rating and a $330 price target. We also are now seeing some leverage ETFs for this name starting to trade today. We're sending you over to Sean and Neil, but do make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and stick with us all day, every day.
Thanks, Adara. But there's an offer, you traders, and your broker ain't giving it to you. I bet you that. Markets have been extremely active lately, can you tell? And for traders, this environment's going to create big opportunities. Big moves mean more setups and more momentum.
Yeah.
But if you really want to take advantage of those conditions, you need a couple of things. You got to have some discipline, and you got to have access to capital. And that's where Trade the Pool is going to come in. Instead of being limited by the size of your own account, traders can access the firm's capital and focus on executing their strategy and managing risk. No more fear of blowing up your personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about losing your own savings. This is what's called limited risk trading. So if you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without risking your own capital, visit tradethepool.com. Scan the QR code you see out in front of you. I want to shout out to Trade the Pool. Thanks for sponsoring this portion of the show. Markets at VWAP and looking like it's breaking lower. Silver is not the market. This is the NASDAQ, which is trying to break lower. Remember, oftentimes, 930 number, the first candle top, if you don't ever break it off of the open, retracing to where we came from is going to be the case. So I want 53s on this. We'll get out there and then try to reevaluate next. Don't want to let this get back above VWAP. I'd probably take another leg out if we close above that volume weighted average price, but pulling right back in. Oh, and by the way, IBM right back to 220.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, you mean, look, Palantir may be going absolutely ham and Microsoft might be doing well, but IBM's right back into 220. So that didn't, like, it was a muted bounce, but you take what you can get. Remember, they're the ones the CEO just crapped on his own stock for being real.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So you got to be careful with what's going on over there with IBM and the whatnot. But there's SK Hynix now, 350, as Neil just read. Bigger momentum, bigger moves can be had in these markets. And, I agree with that. So we're bouncing right now off VWAP 168.40. So, thinking about putting out a bid down there. I'm actually at 168.20s now. So we could go to 168.40 on SK Hynix and just, it's just too bad that we got stopped out there, of course. But hey, man, that's going to happen. Let's go to 168.50. Spread existent, but when it moves, you can get, like right there, it was just at 80s down into 60s. So it's not going to trade like, like an Nvidia or even like a SpaceX right now. It still has price discovery under it. And then there we go. Yes, sir. Bang. Now it's $4 in now on SK Hynix. So let's wait to see where that winds up going. And oh, wow. Okay. Let's go. Breaking through VWAP. How low can we go? What about 165? Maybe we should wait for this area. Let's wait for a 166. Let's just put a bid there at 166. See if we were able to get that. And hope. Wow. Okay. Well, maybe now we will. It just broke 168 pretty clean. And look, in the pre-market, man, we talked about it. We pulled out the chart. We looked at SK Hynix and why we liked it. So, and I'm glad that I think Neil mentioned it. I was like, okay, I got to go there and look because I really like that 172 area. Unfortunately, it does run it like. There was that print up there to 173. Like, I don't see that print or anything, but, obviously it did happen, and I got taken out on that print. But unfortunately, we got 72.64s, so it wasn't that bad. But at the end of the day, we got taken out there as it comes back in. So we do punch back in, but lesser shares than we had in the first place. So SK Hynix, nice to see it moving this way. But wish we had, obviously, a few more shares here.
Dump it.
As we go. We'll see if that gets down. House Financial Services Committee hearing with Fed. Okay, begin. So, yeah, so that's great. So Adara's can live her best life now, and she will.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, I know you're thrilled. We know that. So we'll get Adara's information there as, little tidbits come through from the Fed Chair Committee meeting. So that'll be good.
I was going to say, I think one thing, too, just to let people know, we're probably not going to get, the questions until 10:30 or so, because you've got 5 minutes of talk from the chairman, French Hill, ranking member, who I believe is still Maxine Waters. Then she'll talk for a bit. Then you'll get the opening remarks from Kevin Warsh, which we literally already had released at 8:30. And then we get questions. So usually questions like actual news, substantive information, that's not going to start till around 10:30. So just a heads up, because I love talking about congressional hearings.
Okay, there we go. So we got a nice little timeline. We're going to be locked and loaded and ready to go. We have not talked too much about oil. Well, there's that 120 level, and seems like all roads seem to lead to this, and it is breaking down. So USO catching a bit of a slide here. Well, compared to, you can't really say slide. Like the slide is an IBM. Man, if this doesn't hold on to 220, just go look at a monthly chart. The reason we keep saying that number, pull up a monthly chart, and then if this doesn't hold 220 today, you really start to think about $200 coming in. For them. And that's in the face of the IGV program buying. So again, I mentioned SpaceX and 145. Just because it doesn't get to 145 doesn't mean I won't look for the fade. The market just got underneath VWAP in here. It's putting in some lower highs. So what I do want to see is, hey, stop me if you heard this before. Break the trend line or continue to trend up and then wait for our top, and then we'll go grab it. We got a super chat. Let's throw it up here with CJ Bay, if we can. Andre, because it's BMNR.
Ooh.
Usually we're looking at crypto for a trade. I favored silver over crypto, I guess kind of yesterday too. But BMNR, remember, whenever you're getting up or down moves, the treasury names are just going to give you a little bit more juice. So if you're bullish on ETH on the day, you could look a heck of a lot worse than BMNR. Obviously, it hasn't been going too well for any of these. And I don't think one up day or a couple of up days necessarily breaks a trend. But for now, it is in a little bit of squeeze territory. Just keep in mind, ETH is leading a charge here. But if this turns around somewhere around these prior lows right here, they'll take that 9% and do you know what to it. I think just a couple of days upside is not enough to get me bullish on any of the crypto space. I like the fact that it's going up, but I kind of remain like medium term bearish on these. But I like the breakout happening on ETH. Just make sure you're tracking that when you're watching the run.
All right, yeah, great question there. I was just looking 63.7 right now, obviously, as we talk about Bitcoin as well. SK Hynix, I mean, it's $6 right now in the money on SK Hynix. So here we go, man. And thanks to MF Dane Generous and all you guys there in the chat, man. Really a lot of love from you guys on this. So, respect for that, and thank you for the kind words there. But hopefully you guys are holding this SK Hynix with me, as there it was, man. Nice move up to one. It's still too bad. We did have more shares up there to have this play, but there it is, man. We talked about this yesterday, and even like we just said there about with Trade the Pool there, right? More volatility in these markets. There's a lot of names out here that are giving you these kind of plays, right? You talked about Palantir's, your IBM over there that you've been looking at. Various other names today, like what about even Intel? $100 name, is giving you $5 right there from top. That's 5% in a half hour. It's 10:10 right now, right? So 5% in a half hour right there for Intel on the downside. So lots of opportunities here on the daily to make some bigger winners. And there it goes, right? Nice play there. And we were able to get out of our Nvidia. That was at VWAP. So right now on Nvidia, man, less than 5%. And we've not done that well on it because we got hit on that first little takeout there and then upside. So both of the trades that I have today actually got stopped out and at the, pretty much at the pressure points. And then we did have a bounce back. So now I'm actually thinking about shorting the Qs. You guys were always asking about the futures trading and things like that. So if we go back in right now, you're now underneath VWAP. You're underneath the 200 period moving average. Intel's breaking that 105 right now. That's looking low. It looks like Nvidia may want to come back in. The Qs are now, stumbling to the downside a little bit here. Although yesterday, we did have a negative day. We did come back today, up cooking quite nicely. The ES trying to hold out as well on bank strength, but the NASDAQ doesn't have any bank strength in it because there's no banks. So we'll have to, other than SoFi, I guess, is in the NASDAQ, which I don't know why that is, but here we go. Well, I know why it is, to get inclusion into the NASDAQ 100. That didn't work out too well for them. But we'll have to wait to see here if the NASDAQ does finally get that little bounce back to the high side. Okay, here comes Nvidia. Let's take advantage of that back up into the 80s again. So we're just going to touch out here at the 25 period moving average. So we'll continue to run that. And again, SK Hynix, unfortunately, we only have about 20% left of our reload, which was only a fraction of our first position. So hopefully that can come back down a little bit. But if it does come back in, I don't mind a reload in and around 171 on SKHY. quickly at IREN, and then we can talk about some other names there. Well, someone said IREN was moving around. Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, again, like a lot of these names today. Yeah, well, some of them are starting to go back in, right? I don't know what a GV is doing.
That's what I was about to check.
Yeah, I think they're all. IREN is like a crypto name as well. GV's upside there. CEG. Remember Oracle and all these names that are connected there. Even Nvidia is not doing that well. Okay, CEG's up. Okay, we got some money into CEG, so that's okay. That one's working out there. And then one more check on a name that I most recently bought, Qualcomm, right back to the levels I bought it at. So Qualcomm 181, don't mind some of that as well. Maybe got to get some Intel in my life.
I'm really curious about that IREN.
Yeah,
it feels like a little bit much.
SMR 850.
I know there's a halter and it's a LEDS, very, very relatively light volume compared to the other small cappers that we've been talking about earlier here today, but it is halted up. I just put in the chat for anyone out there. The tap is flat, so it's indicating it'll open at 229. Standard volatility halt on LEDS. And just one word for you, pull up the daily, 250. That's about as easy as it gets. 250 resistance on this bad boy. So that's where I'd be looking. SpaceX has no quit in it for now, so I'm trying to look for this one. It won't break the trend yet, but I think it does eventually. The market seems like it's weak enough, and this has been one of the weakest names. It didn't quite get to 135 yesterday, so I still think there's a chance it really gets to 135 proper. Urban Jazz Group, thank you for the super chat in Canadian dollars. Why not? So you like HG? You're curious about an insurance name on very low volume? So my guess is you're talking about it from a fundamental standpoint or a long-term standpoint. So all I can do is stamp the, hey, you're in a space where the group is rising. We already talked about how the XLF is doing in financials, and insurance name is going to be a bit of a part of that. I don't know what their dividend is. Sometimes that can be a reason you're in it. But the trend is your friend till the end when it bends, and this one ain't bending. So we like upward trends. Congratulations if you got it, but this isn't obviously going to be a trade. It's on 37,000 shares as a day trade, but hey, sometimes you need to have little financials in your life, so can't hate you there.
Yeah, I know. We talked about having some financials, and we like those ones for sure, especially trying to diversify. But yeah, the Nasdaq's going lower right now, and we sort of called that off of that VWAP. If you're looking for more information, we do have our membership program. I guess it's $5 a month, very, very cheap, needless to say. And here you go. You're going to get Sharif's morning note, which is absolutely huge. It's been today. I don't even know how many pages this thing is today. No clue, but here, one of 16 right here. First talk here, Strait of Hormuz. A little bit of a talk there. President Trump announced plans to impose 20%. So all the information's here. Key levels, the trade plan, what the setups are here. And of course, it's derived. This is just all put in, and we figure out, everything from AI and things like that. So it is derived, but it's all the stories that you're looking for, man. The Google talk, the DRAM. So if you're having a hard time sort of developing some of your watch lists, make sure you do subscribe. It's $5 a month, man. It's literally a coffee or two, and you get all this information. So definitely go join us up right now, have some fun. And it's exactly the list that we look at every single day here at Trader TV as we study up these markets. So, wow, Qualcomm looks like it wants to break 180 right now. That's getting nasty to the downside
Palantir's at 32
well.
now.
Yeah, PLTR just an absolute
ridiculous
monster. I mean, we wrote this one down at 122. It gets as low as 122.80 and then takes off into the abyss right here, 132.50. Congratulations, Nelson, and everybody else that was taking some trades there on Palantir. This one definitely working to the high side now, PLTR. 132.25 and going higher right now. Yeah, some of these other names. So we looked at ARM, we looked at Marvell's pulling back in. I mean, as this market loses its bid, you could see that. That's what I'm trying to get. There we go, get some more out of Nvidia finally. That's what I'm trying to get a little bit more out of Nvidia. Some of these markets are starting to lose a bit here, and I'm not convinced that Nvidia wants to stay high either. I don't know why this name's so aggressively long today, but Nvidia seems to be that way. Marvell downside, we just saw ARM, as we talked about that before as well. This one's getting hit too, down 7% right now is ARM. I think that's the biggest surprise today. We weren't necessarily thinking ARM was going to be that low. Another 7% mover would be Cerebras. That's down 6.5% as well. DraftKings is down. Eli Lilly's down 3%. Oracle's down 2%. Microsoft down 2%. So some of the names that we might not have expected getting low is what's happening now. Cerebras down 6% there. And then Microsoft off the IBM scare today as software now coming more into focus than maybe it was yesterday with Microsoft and then IBM. I mean, I know you've looked at it, but okay, so right back into the lows again.
Yeah, it's just so dead.
Actually, got as low as 216 there.
It basically tagged VWAP, and then it's going right back into the lows. 215.65, and then it's done. And then it makes some fresh lows. So that's the thing with, we call it an SSR bounce. Just any stock that's down 10%, the uptick rule goes into effect. You can't hit the bid to go short. You have to sit on the offer unless the last tick is an uptick. Hence why they call it the uptick rule. So sometimes stocks will bounce nicely when they catch a bid because it's a little more difficult to short. But it's down double digits for a reason, and it'll be SSR again tomorrow because that's how the rule works. So at this point, you've got the no close above, it doesn't hold above VWAP on SLV, but it is double bottoming, and that's close enough to the prior high. So I'm going to trail this one. If it breaks this local high in here, then we don't get our 53. But I don't want this, catching a bid. I want the actual low of the day, and I don't want this going to be turning into a loser. Okay, here comes SpaceX. I was asked in the chat if I was looking BM&R short. The answer is no. I would be more inclined to short IBIT, but SpaceX is breaking the trend right now. But BM&R just seems like it's been much stronger compared to the rest of crypto. So I would rather look at like an IBIT short, which, okay, well, SpaceX is bouncing, so I can go over to IBIT now and just show you. Like IBIT's putting in lower highs and kind of doing a bit of a channel. It could break the channel down. That can get me in. It can do a false break at the top. But there's just been a big difference between BM&R and IBIT. One of those has a chance to already look like it's channeling back down. The other is going absolutely ham. And there's only one way I'm interested in shorting a parabolic mover. Very clean and clear trend break with room to the volume weighted average price. I'm not sure this is there just yet. Tom Lee, hey, you're having a good day today. Although every time he comes up, we should all remind ourselves that, yeah, you can say that BM&R is going up, but if AMD is going down, then he can't be happy. Because he's, if you look, it's weird because everyone talks about it for BM&R, but he crushed it on AMD.
Yeah, AMD
absolutely,
great,
which a lot of people crushed on AMD.
Right now we're back to okay, here we go. I don't know if there's news, and we're going to go to Adair in a second here, but there goes advanced micro device. We were just talking about it. Sorry, yeah. There goes Nvidia right now, 150 in the money on Nvidia as I kick my keyboard there. There it goes, man. Nice move up to VWAP. So yeah, man, we just taken that one off that 204 bottom. Thankfully, we found that. We did get stopped out, but we'll make it back right there with that trade. And then SK Hynix making its way back up. We said we'd look at a 171. Said we had less than 5% left of SK Hynix. That is what we have. But we're going to wait to see now what winds up. 10% left on SK Hynix. 5% of what we had up there. We added some back, but not enough to get some, me too interested. But we're going to wait for 171 now coming through on SK Hynix. Let's go over to Adara.
Keep an eye here on NXTC. Words, guys. In focus. They were actually on our watch list this morning. They are going to be merging here with Avir Therapeutics. Avir Therapeutics is actually a privately held company, but basically these two companies are going to combine to advance a once-weekly oral therapy. Now, NXTC has a $23.5 million market cap, float here of about 2.4 million shares, 6.7% short float. LHAI Link Home Holdings in focus. They've commercially rolled out a product called OpenLink, and they've also executed a 2-year, $10.5 million enterprise AI compute services agreement. In terms of market cap and float here, you've got a market cap of just under $22 million, float of 8 million shares. Last but not least, SHPH, Shuttle Pharmaceuticals, as mentioned, no story on this one. $2.5 million market cap, 600,000 share float, and 23% short float for SHPH. Just want to keep you guys posted as well. As far as the Fed hearing is concerned here, so again, this is the first ever, or rather, Fed Chair Warsh's first ever appearance for semi-annual testimony in front of the House Financial Services Committee. It started here, as I mentioned. He's currently wrapping up his prepared remarks, so looks like we could start getting questions within the next couple minutes. Back to you.
All right.
Thank you very much there, Adara. Well, if you like mean reversion, sometimes it means buying crap. As Adara just said that Warsh is talking about task forces. I, for one, am shocked.
So many.
Yeah, I mean, if Warsh is talking about task forces, then I don't know. Has he been kidnapped by aliens? That doesn't seem like his MO.
He's not.
At all. No, of course, I'm joking about that. So into Intel, I did say I was going to trail out of SLV, so we'll quickly show you if it broke the volume-weighted average price. Again, don't want it to turn into a losing trade. If the first thing that had happened would have been a trend break to the downside on a few things, I might have had another short, but instead, it's like a bajillion red candles in a row for Intel, and it's trying to put in the first green. But it's more importantly, it pulled all the way back. Find something that pulls into a key level and tries to break the trend. So if we can get some more, I want 104s. Sitting, where am I sitting? I probably put it at exactly 104, didn't I? Never bid the even dollar. It's a lesson I always learn. So just stick in front of the 04, try to add to this. Do not want to give it too far, but of course, as mentioned by Adara, we do have Warsh in his first time he gets questioned by the health services and then also by Congress. So we'll see what he says, but CPI has tried to bring us to the upside, and I guess we're getting the secondary bounce now.
Okay, here we go. House.
It's just
question. Okay, same old story there, as per usual. I'm still trying to fight with my audio here, so I don't hear any of this in my ear as far as Warsh.
Okay.
We'll just keep on going with Adara and get that story going. So I'm still waiting for. I got a little impatient there. I put on another 5% here at 170 on this move higher. I was waiting for 171 flat. We got as high as 170.70 on SK Hynix. So kind of just like waiting around for it. Let's see what winds up happening here. Just hoping for the best, but uncertain of where SK Hynix is going to go. So still waiting for 171, 171.50, and then trying to get a little bit more up here. So we'll put on a little bit of a reload right here at 170, but just an average price right now. And Nvidia's trying to pop through as well. Yeah, futures trying to go. Marvell trying to go. JP Morgan, let's have a look there. Yeah, so there it is now. Now all-time highs. I mean, at the end of the day, 344 and change. We really like that one. It was Goldman Sachs that was up 6% and change now. Yeah, now that's up 8% on Goldman Sachs. What's up, Adara?
I have some news here in a different bank, and that bank is Wells Fargo. WFC on watch here. Some net interest margin comments coming through here from the CFO of the company saying they expect a modest compression of their net interest margin in Q3, though they expect this metric, or NIM is what they're calling it here, again, net interest margin, expected to stabilize by Q4. So again, compression in Q3 to a modest degree, stabilization in Q4 for net interest margin from WFC.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you, as quickly as we got into Intel, simultaneously, SpaceX broke the trend lines. I finally got into that short, and then Intel broke the prior bar low. So that one, look, it's going to be a tight stop, but I got to follow the rules here. So that one jumped out, made a fresh low. We jumped into the SpaceX breakdown. It immediately starts flushing through VWAP, 140.5, 140, some obvious targets that we're going to try to get. It just seems like when a short comes in on this name in particular, and I guess there's a few others out there, we just start accelerating to the downside. I was asked in the chat, are you considering any other plays on IBM? Not really. I'll tend to take one swipe at an SSR bounce and not try to try my luck, and not try to force the action on something down 25% a couple of times. You could do worse than maybe looking for trend breaks on a double bottom and then just play the same game again. But I've always find that's more of a hit it and quit it on that day. Like you get your one good trend reversion when the stock is getting beaten up, and then I try to move on from it. But yeah, good luck if you're trying it at IBM. That 220, it's trying to hold.
All right, we did get that reload obviously on SK Hynix, and it was a good look there. I mean, I like to look at SpaceX for sure, but right now we're trying to bid. I mean, I didn't even have a 169 bid, but if we could take $1 on it, we'll try to do that. There it is. So we get the 169. Now we're starting to fall back in. There it is, like a 170. I mean, and we're just trading right now the hot names, and we talked about wanting to make a little bit more money on these names just because of the movement there. So we're trying to do that right now as it comes back in. And wow, there goes Nvidia is on a smoke show right now for NVDA. Just touched out into 206 again there for NVDA. Nice upside play there. We'll see if it wants to hold. There it is. Yes, good take there on NVIDIA. So that's going to be a good one. I don't know if there's news or not. There's the TQs just dancing around right at VWAP. So there's something going on there as well with NASDAQ trying to bounce. I
just heard something AMD. I couldn't make it out. Sorry.
I got to get my ears going over here too. My earpiece.
I did just hear, all I heard was AMD and an NVDA. There is news going on here. But,
Okay.
AMD's already starting to come back in, but I was unable to catch it. It's not very clear in my ear, unfortunately. Dara's going to be on in a quick little second, but AMD had a brief spike, a little bit of volume coming right back in, and you obviously just saw Nvidia with a big volume spike as well. Dara, let us know when you have it.
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, well, I only heard it. So Dara's saying she's not hearing anything. But I did hear AMD, Nvidia, but I couldn't catch the rest of it. Apologies. We'll get it from Adara. You did see a volume spike in both.
Yeah, there's something because we just got out on on Nvidia on the high side there, and then all of a sudden now it's down about another $1 right there. So China chip sales. Let's go over to Adara.
So basically, this story here is apparently some documents show that China's firms ZTE and Meginfra are among the firms licensed by the U.S. to buy H200 chips. So again, looks like 2 firms here are licensed by the U.S. to buy NVIDIA's China-approved H200 chips. Those specifically are going to be ZTE and Meginfra. Apparently, Kingsoft, according to these same documents, has been allowed to buy AI chips from AMD. So you've got 2 firms approved to buy chips here, specifically H200s from NVIDIA in China, then one other firm approved to buy chips from AMD. If I get more details here, I'll let you know. As far as I can tell, this is just a report. Back to you.
There you go. Thank you, Dara. That's why we've got Adara. That's why she is the best. That's why we have the button.
Thank you very much.
Even the
Adara.
president's like, thank you, Adara.
Yeah, president.
I mean, let's be real.
He likes it.
If you get praise from the president, then you're hitting home runs better than Jordan Walker last night.
Did he wind up winning? I don't even know who that
Oh, it was, for my money, that was the best Derby they've never had a more exciting finish to the Derby. And it's all because they went back to you don't just have like a
massive
$1 million or $1 million time clock and then you hit as many as you can. It just takes forever. You had 20 swings in the first round, you had 15 swings after that.
Time.
Pressure. And then if it was great, it was like bowling. If your 15th swing, you hit a bomb, you can keep going till you don't hit a bomb. So Walker was mathematically like done. The only way he could catch Schwarber was to hit his last one. He hit 6 homers in a row. Bang, bang, on 6 swings, 6 bombs to win it all. It was unreal.
Yeah,
it was on 6 swings, 6 bombs to walk it off. He's on the Cardinals. He's like 23 years old, man. He's just a kid.
Just a boss over
there. But can you tell I have this guy in fantasy?
All right. Yeah, I know
2
who
years,
it is. So, all right, Adara, what's up?
Another NVIDIA story, but this one isn't really moving NVIDIA. It's moving another company, which we'll get to in a second. Keep an eye on NVDA as Nikkei reports that NVIDIA and Mitsubishi Heavy are considering cooperation in AI data center cooling and power. Now, this would put NVIDIA in competition with VRT. So VRT did drop a little bit as we first got that story. Again, Nikkei reporting that NVIDIA and Mitsubishi Heavy are considering a cooperation in AI data center cooling and power. Back to you.
All right.
Thank you, Adara. Again.
You know what? I'm going to take another opportunity to get some more out here of NVIDIA at this high end because we're right back to VWAP again, and we just can't, we sit here and we talk about VWAP trading all the time, and if it's going to hit, we got to get some out. It looks like a topside play around 206 now for NVDA, so we're just going to start to clear out a little bit right there for sure. So that's going to be something that we do there. And I want to check out on Alibaba because this could be, again, no, nothing going on there. I thought that maybe with all this China talk here, maybe NVIDIA, Alibaba, AMD, some looks there, but doesn't look like anything's going on with Alibaba. Over to NVIDIA, AMD, a name that I still want to get out of, and I haven't been able to do that yet, maybe today. I was trying to wait for some sort of signs, and maybe that was a break of $500 here, get some more out of AMD. It's not a huge position by any stretch, but 550, you talk about Tom Lee and some people making calls in Advanced Micro Devices. Wow, has that one ever matured up? And we'll wait for their earnings report. It could be a doozy for Advanced Micro Devices, man. I mean, it seems like that the chip space, and again, we get the scare from IBM saying that everybody's putting money aside, for the data center, for RAM, getting these pieces into their sort of portfolio before prices even expand even more than where we are right now. So we have to look at IBM as a potential trade, again, to the long side once it settles down. I'd give this one 3 days, once that settles, the dust can settle on IBM. Marvell was cooking, man. Today it was up 4.5%. Now it's 232, back down into 220 for Marvell, and trying to find a base there as well. But we'll take the $1.80 now, $1.90 now in NVIDIA, and hope to see if Marvell can break. And if a Marvell breaks right into their 220, 250, then I do think it's probably go time there for MRVL, trying to break above the 50-period moving average right there. It's already taken down the 25 period. Looks like we're trying to get longer here. And there it is. Yes, we won 1 second. Now it's a $2 winner now for my good friend anyways today, Nvidia. Still wish we never got stopped out at that low, but we did. What are you going to do? That's trading. All right, let's go back over to Adara. What you got?
We're seeing some more here on NVDA. Some comments coming from a U.S. commerce official by the name of Kessler saying, quote, very few H200 chips have been shipped to China or Hong Kong. So it sounds like, yes, there's some approval for NVIDIA to ship some chips, but they're not really actually shipping any. Back to you.
Okay. Well, we'll see. One note on IBM. IBM reports in a week.
Yeah.
A week tomorrow. So the report a week tomorrow. The actual earnings today. The preliminary earnings. But it's like, how bad can it be after what's already happened? It could always be worse, but you got to imagine if they're smart, they gave you the worst news now because they know it. Let's be real. SpaceX did just get down, tested 140. It's pulling a bounce in front of the 140 level right here. It's not the opening range, but it was 950 double bottom. It's a reversion back into this high. So when it shows a bounce, I'm jumping out of the trade. It wicked underneath the $0.50. We'll take that. It was through VWAP. We didn't get the top. We take what we can get, not be upset. If it's a dollar move, it's a dollar move, and we can move on to the next, which I know for me is as the market comes back up, here's the NASDAQ, see it bouncing higher, my sights are set on SLV again. So if we see enough strength to push us back in and retest those highs,
come on.
I want to see silver putting in lower highs. If silver is putting in lower highs when the market tests that top, then I'm still going to be fading this. I want the market breaking out that top and silver unable to break through. Yeah, my quotes are what just happened.
It's because of Nvidia. My quotes are frozen, but it was just Nvidia was just going so hard there. I feel
everything is. My quote's dying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're having some quote issues right now, but there goes. It just refreshes.
Something just happened.
Yeah.
USO just tanked at $2.
Okay, yeah. All right, so right now, there goes NVIDIA. We are, okay, so it's USO.
USO just tanked and came right back.
Yeah, we did get some. Again, I don't have the news in my ear, but we have Adara there. She's got everything
Something
for us.
happened
So
now.
she's checking right now. Well, did it dump $2 or I don't know. For me,
it tagged 118.
No, it didn't. Not on mine. It didn't happen there. I don't, like you said, we have been having some problems there. So I don't know. I thought it was NVIDIA going hard there.
What the?
Apple back to 315. I mean, this market's really getting excited. I mean, NVIDIA's now $3 in the money, by the way. So I don't really know exactly what's going on here, but it's NVIDIA to the moon now. And yeah, SK Hynix is coming back upside. I'm going to take a fill here if I can get it. Oops, sorry, wrong stock. There's SK Hynix. I didn't, we were sitting there at O's, but I just took a 90 fill right there. So we'll see what winds up happening. Or did I? No, sorry, 75 fill. Yes, Adara?
Yeah, I just want to say, guys, I kind of assumed when I saw that it will drop, it was probably something untruth. Trump has been posting, I swear, like 10 posts in the last 2 minutes. None of them seem to be about oil. He's just like spam posting right now. But again, nothing about oil. Apparently, he's now posting about the U.S.-Japan trade and investment deal on Truth.
What?
But again, nothing that has to do with oil. I've been looking into it right now. There is nothing.
Okay, so yeah, I think it might have just been a quote problem there because even, well, you know what though? Here we go. Yeah, this seemed to have happened maybe as well there. Yeah, so I don't have it on my particular chart, but here it is on eSignal. So yeah, and again, just because Adara was saying, I like that spam tweeting now, so spam posting. So yeah, just going hard on the posts is Donald J. Trump right now. So we'll see if there's some sort of a reaction play here to anything.
You know what it is?
He winds up doing.
I think on USO, he's posting and the algos just decide what's happening, and they just. Over 50% now of a lot of the quote that you see on anything, especially these ETFs, is just going to be algos. So the actual lit market, the bids and the asks that hold the market together, that's algos. So when he posts something, it's almost like they're just going to pull the bid. And in this particular case, I think they pulled the bid and some people probably just got triggered out because it's right back to where we were on USO. Mm-hmm. So in that vein, it's I'm just going right back to what I was doing before. Like my first reaction was to cancel orders, and while I got a little bit hopeful that I would get picked up in that move up on SLV, I'm leaving my orders in there just in case I would have gotten fill because I saw that spike up. I'm like, well, if I offer those prices, maybe I'll actually get them. I didn't actually get it up there, but I'm going to go back to looking short. That's a heck of a topping tail candle, as far as I can see. And as long as USO holds that recovery, which it seems like it is, then I want to go back into this trade. here, maybe even with a tight stop. But yeah, the algos, this is part of what happens when you have less human market makers. Let's just be real. More stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. I agree with that one.
It's actually in.
Yeah, it's in the book back there. That's we were talking about that yesterday. Why real trading and people to make real decisions are important, right? You can get this book for 99 cents on Kindle right now, built by, authored by Daniel Schleffer here, founder of Real Trading. So you guys can go have a take a quick look there. All right, so just in hitting the keys right now, where am I here? 171.75. How high did we just go? I was trying to get some more shares there. Oh, it stops right on me right there. So 171.75. Oh, come on. See, now that would be $1 in the money, right? And this is the thing. You sit there, you take the fills, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Maybe we still will there for SK Hynix, but still trying to get some price discovery, I feel like the volume and the spread can really pick up here. And sometimes in a negative way, the volume will dry up. And hopefully it goes in your favor. But like what happened up here was basically a vacuum that took down 173 and got through 172 and took out 173. And we got stopped out somehow there at 173. But there it was. Nice move there. Oh, that's too bad, man. We should have had another piece. I was trying to put on another small. So I only have a quarter of a unit right now just because of how violent this name's been, quite frankly. So we're going to have to wait now to see what happens with SK Hynix into this play. You know what? I'll take another piece right here at 171.20 if we're able to get it, just in case we don't get back up to the upside. But I want to take the short until we break upside there, 172.80 on SK Hynix. So let's give that a little bit of room and see what we can do now in the name. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, trying to get those shorts. And actually noticing that Apple, and maybe with this China sort of, talk, and, maybe China now going to open up to, in the US, maybe going to let some of these guys sell some of their wares into China. So Apple there trying to get some of that RAM under control could be a good story. And I think that's where this is coming from. I almost shorted, like we just came into that 316 right there again, and would have been a decent short for Apple. This is the level that we talked about shorting. But again, with that story, with that news, you do have to sometimes be a little careful on where these markets could go. Momentum is a dangerous thing. And to stand in front of it right now, especially on China news, is one of those dangerous stories. So we'll be careful with what we're thinking about here with China and with Apple. But so far, so good, man. We hit this yesterday at 320. It's a nice bottom there today, around 313. SK Hynix not doing a whole heck of a lot. You're still in silver, and it's Adara back at the desk.
Just an update here on the Warsh hearing while I have you guys. He's basically been asked two things so far. One thing he's been asked about is the task forces, and the second has been, are you independent? So that's really been it, guys. It's been really entertaining if you're into congressional hearings, but if not, just stick with us and I'll give you guys coverage because I love doing it. Let's talk about the sector board. Lots of strength here in producer manufacturing, but LRCX, GEV, AMAT, and to a much lesser extent, Caterpillar, all to the upside. Tech services gets really interesting because you do have pullbacks in the likes of Oracle below 130, guys. Netflix, IBM, of course, here dragging down the entire SaaS group with that weaker than expected preliminary Q2 results. But then you have strength in a lot of these cybersecurity names. Now, why is cybersecurity strong? Well, I'm seeing it attributed to the fact that during his comments here on that IBM report, CEO Arvind Krishna basically said, yeah, what happened here is they're spending money on cybersecurity, these companies, but they're not spending so much money on what we do. So that's why these cybersecurity names are looking good. You also have good look here for Palantir, Datadog, Fortinet, Google, and Meta, though Microsoft pulling back, again, likely in IBM sympathy. Electronic tech, really, really strong. There's not a lot of weakness here. It's more just names that are kind of flat on the day. Finance also looking good here. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BAC, and Wells Fargo all reported this morning, as did Citigroup. So you've got 4 of these now green. Only one is still red, and it's red only marginally here, Wells Fargo. Morgan Stanley up 4%, but they don't report until tomorrow morning, so keep an eye on that. In terms of weakness, health tech really pulling back here, really bloody. Consumer non-durables, red. Communications, red. Distribution, red. And health services, you guessed it, red. Keep an eye on UNH. They report earnings on Thursday morning. Back to you.
Oh, UNH.
Thank you, Adara. And shout out to V. Although, I have questions about the ticker here. It's Twin V.
Yes.
Your Twin V power.
I think that's why it's 2 E's.
But then it should be 2 V's. It's twin V power.
Maybe
I get it. V. Look, that sounds cool and it's really fun to say, but I don't know. It seems like low-hanging fruit. But it did have another halt up at about 33.5. It's now making a run for yesterday's highs. And pull that out of the way so you can see it wicked the $40 level before pulling back in. This is right after market. So understand that. Really just looking at it on my chart till about 4:30 or so. But yeah, $40 is a pretty key level. Congratulations to anyone that happens to have it. You're still seeing USO. So the reason I'm back into silver is just, like, see that reversal candle? That was the algo drop when the president was truthing. And we're right back. And so thinking usually when you do this, it's like reverse and trend back up. And if that goes up, thinking the rest of the things that were strong turn back weak. So there was a topping tail in silver. I didn't get picked up at the top, so I kind of just went short when it closed back underneath. And then I'm going to give it to this local high where we trailed out before, and then play this back into the low of the day. The other thing I'm looking at, if we're playing reversions, is now IBIT. So double top here on Bitcoin, obviously via the ETF here on IBIT. And it's got a double top, do a trend break, scalp back into the low. So that's the plan of action here. The NASDAQ has yet to, and I don't think the ES did either, break out that 830 high that we had. So pretty much, I mean, there's a couple of things that are breaking out, but anything that is failing to break out after the futures pull back, I want to jump some reversions.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing there with SK Hynix. I did want to look at SpaceX. I know it was the name that you were in earlier. I like that 143 level up there again. I mean, it just is matching out with the support resistance trade. The only issue to me is we've bounced, and again, the trade I like better than all of that is, of course, this little trade right back into there, and that is the 200 period moving average. So if we would have been able to look at that and see that long, I think that's better than this short, but you're in a little bit of a zone right here, 140.50 high side, 143 high side, 140.50 low side right there. So something to look at for sure. Big shout out to everybody that's here right now. Let's do a quick little roll call as you guys have been here all morning with us. We want to thank everybody that's part of the chat. I go over to the participants and I see there's quite a lot of you today in the chat. So we want to say a big shout out to everybody that's here with us one more time here today. I'll zoom this back out and maybe we could all have a look. What's up to Mark? Want to say hi to Mark. Mike Peter Ryder, thank you so much. You're here every single day. Hemlock, what's up to you? Beware the monkey hammer. Nothing but junk is here. And we're looking at this every day, like all the time, man. We're trying to figure out what you guys are trading. How can we help? What can we help you out with? Yo, someone just said my name. Yo, what's up, Ask Liquidity? Good to see you here. You're in Florida, stuck in traffic. Well, open up your window. Hopefully it's nice weather. Yo, Shawnee, what's up? Right there. My mother calls me Shawnee sometimes. Say my name. Say my name. Oh, Kahlua over there. Is that what Randy put in our coffee, by the way? Shout out to Kahlua time over there as well.
That'd be fun.
Navid, what's up? Randy just saying no, he's drinking it all himself over there. Shout out to Randy over there. Stay warm with the Kahlua, my friend. Naveen on TikTok, thank you so much for the super chat there as well. Mr. Cameron is here. Yo, what's up, Mikey? Mikey on Micron wants to know about that as well. Projectile vomit market? Let's hope not. Right there. That's a little bit of roll call. Yeah, we don't want to. Oh, there is that projectile vomiting thing that's going around in the United States right now. Explosive diarrhea or something.
Yeah, I forget the name of the
on there. Some sort of a bug going on there. Be careful.
It's some exorcist stuff, right?
Yeah, be careful with that one. Apparently it's affected over 3,000 or something in 31 states.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I don't know what's going on there, but be careful. All right, so right there, good low tick there. We got 170s. We're short 170.70. The last reload we had was 171.20. So we take about $1 and change on that, but it just came right back up, bouncing off the 25 period. So SK Hynix, in my humble opinion, in trouble of going through the day's high. So we will wait for one more short up here at 170. Oh, I have one at 171.75 for small. I still want to get a 172.50 where we got stopped out, and then see if we true to running 173. And if we do, that's fine. It does look like SK Hynix is strong today. Obviously, it's up 13%. It's a no-brainer to say that. But we've fallen back in. We held the 200 period. And then right here, we hold VWAP again. So, you know, it looks like it's pretty strong. We had one dip down at 10 o'clock, and then it's just been bought right back up. So definitely aware that this is a stronger name than maybe we're giving it credit for there by going short. But it's Nvidia now 250 in the money and still going higher. Okay, here we go. There goes SK Hynix finally making that move. But look at the spread, right? The spread was just like 80 cents there. So be careful with SK Hynix. It's moving around.
Yeah, Cyclospora. is thank you to the chat
Is that what it's called?
for that. But and again, yeah, be careful. Like they say, wash your vegetables. Don't know if there's going to be any plays. Didn't really hear any chatter about, hey, you should look at this stock or that stock for it. But IBIT here, just trying to break down underneath the trend line. I drew up it before, but we're in it, looking for that volume weighted average price as the market's making its attempt to roll over. Just a reminder, everybody, at 8:30, we made the tops. It's weird. Like, I actually have a resistance line drawn. Sometimes you better pay attention when you have a resistance line drawn. Probably drew it a while ago, not at 30,000, but at 29.9. But we have not been able to breach that top. We are putting in lower highs since that light CPI print. So, respect the fact that the market has bounced, but has not been able to really do anything with some of those tops. So, still going to look for some fade plays when you have that. If you're thinking about where the big strength has been, I think look no further than Palantir. Palantir's not dragging the Nasdaq by itself. It just can't do it, but it is breaking out, potentially making some fresh highs here. So another high on Palantir. Like, it's just going nuts. Like, this is not the one. Like, I'd rather take a reversion on SpaceX or, like I said, IBIT, Silver, but Palantir going absolutely ham. 2%. Remember what they did?
Face software names.
Everything got smacked because of IBM, and sometimes when that happens, things are gapped down too far in sympathy, and then the buyers say, hey, what's going on here? That doesn't make any sense. They buy them right back up. Cybersecurity did it. Palantir did it.
I mean, and I don't know who would have thought about that, but we put her down right down here, getting hot here, getting hit here on IBM earnings, right? Early earning miss. Palantir's operating at a high level. Look at this, and has this conviction and will catch a bid. Be patient here, wait for the long. Unfortunately, patience was not the right word to be putting in there because, let's go, SK Hynix. Now $1.50 in the money on that one. And we did exactly what we wanted to do, man. We waited. We're very, very patient with it. We're out of half of SK Hynix as we just got out at 171 into the teeth there. And then we just got a bid at the 25 period moving average. So SK Hynix, spin the money for that one there today again. But yeah, man, that Palantir, I just said to Sharif, like, you got to go over there and have a look at it. He just sat back in. But there it is, man, 123. Look, we said bid 122, wait for it. I did think the flush was on there on Palantir, but we don't have it, unfortunately, Joe. But maybe Joe does. Do you have it, Joe? Oh, no. Okay. Well, I appreciate the celebration over there because, yeah, man, I'm a big Palantir guy, needless to say, but we'll have to wait to see what winds up happening there. Now up 2%. Good look, Mr. Karp and company today, as it's been battling back. Marvell, though, trying to go lower. These are the two ones that, we've done really well. We've actually taken down the last two contests there of picking stocks. We all 5 or 6 of us made 6-month picks. I'm lucky enough to be 2-0 on that, but a lot of that's Marvell and Palantir. We could try to do another one if you guys want to moving forward there. Yeah, Fabian's trying to get it all hooked up there. So yeah, you could keep the same ones as well. I may keep Marvell. I don't know what we're gonna do there, but let's go back over to Adara. I guess now it's 10:50. Unfortunately, I didn't get the lunch menu. Wow. Okay, but before we go to Adara, here we go, man. It's Crank City to the downside, man. With our, again, my new favorite stock used to be SpaceX, but now we'll take SK Hynix. Nice play right there, man. That just went to 169.50 down to the 50-period moving average. I had to interrupt myself there to get that out because we noticed that little crank through 170. You got to put a bid out and take it when it happens. There it goes to the downside. Yeah, buddy. SK Hynix, nice move down. Yeah, it better not be Tilapia Tuesday. What's
it's
up
not
there?
Not for us, anyways.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if it's Tilapia Tuesday, but I'll tell you what it is. It's certainly Fed Warsh Tuesday. Fed Chair Warsh testifying. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk here about the U.S. dollar because this level of support here around that 100.6 level is becoming more and more apparent. Look at this, guys. We've now bounced off this resistance, though, forming yesterday and today around that 101.3 level. Now, a lot of the movement that we had here in the U.S. dollar in the market, especially this morning, came from that CPI print. So all 4 CPI readings, so month over month, year over year on a core and non-core basis, they're going to be cooler than expected. CPI month over month for June, negative, cooler than expected. CPI month over month for June, negative 0.4% versus negative 0.1% expected. CPI year over year, 3.5% versus 3.8% expected. Core CPI month over month, 0%, so flat versus 0.2% expected. course, CPI year-over-year 2.6% versus 2.8% expected. Now, of course, all these prints, not just cooler than the expectations, they're also cooler than the prior prints as well. Let's take a look here. Of course, following this number, cooler than expected, some of these inflation woes going away, at least temporarily. Now we are seeing an 87% chance of rates getting held at this next meeting. Yesterday, we were seeing anywhere from 65 to 70%. So this odd has increased. Still not seeing a cut, but seeing, if possible, a rate hike. Only 12% now, compared to, again, roughly 30+% chance of that rate hike as of yesterday. Now we're still seeing, as of right now, a chance that we're going to get hikes in September. That rate of hikes actually increasing a little bit here. So 52.7% chance now of a hike versus roughly 50% yesterday. But we were seeing the second hike around yesterday as early as January 2027. Now the second hike being pushed back to April of 2027. Now this is interesting. We're seeing that rates might get, cut here going back to July of 2027, followed by another hike in December. We're going to have to wait to see how this shakes out, but interesting look here for rate expectations on the CME Fed Watch tool. Before we send you back, a reminder, lots of Fed talk beyond what's been a pretty interesting time here for Kevin Warsh with his first ever testimony here in front of the House Financial Services Committee. You're going to get other Fed speakers today. Fed's Barr here at 12:40, Fed's Goolsbee at 1, Fed's Cook at 1:30, Fed's Bowman at 2:55. All of these individuals but Fed's Goolsbee are actually voting members. Furthermore, Fed Chair Warsh also testifying tomorrow in front of the Senate Banking Committee. I'm very excited to watch that and cover it for you guys starting once again at 10 a.m. Back to you.
Oh man, yeah, very exciting stuff. And I just want to put this up here because Shreve just sat down, and the thing is like
42.
We were talking. I mean, you're 100% right here. Our day would be done there. I was saying right into here, and this was at 9:53. Right when it reopened, it came back in, it held VWAP, and I said, and you're 100% right there, Akash there, that I said going long at 27 would have been a move for me to make, and I didn't make it. So judge me for that call, fine. But at the end of the day, man, like I always think you're only as good as your latest trade, and I don't have this on. So hopefully all of you guys have this on, and I do appreciate that talk. And you guys are right, man. We were looking at it early, and I even said that yesterday when it was at $12 and it was looking to break. So I think I'm going to add some of these small cap names to the repertoire here because honestly, man, we could easily have nailed this one. And not that we'd still be long at 42. I mean, it halted here. We would have definitely got something out. But hey, man, I'll take $12 on a $27 name. I mean, that would have been pretty sweet. So there it goes, upside. Congratulations to anybody that had that one on VEE because it is still going. And hey, man, I'm here for you. Just don't have it this time. We'll be watching this one. And Sharif and Joe on the midday, they're looking at small cap names. And there it goes. Like, obviously, it's off to the races now. And, nothing but, clear skies ahead for Twin V, Power Cats. So the reason why it's Twin V is VEE. Yes. So that would make sense. And okay, this is why we celebrate SK Hynix when we got a winner, because sometimes you put back losers on, and there it goes, breaking through
USO.
1.7. USO as well. Yeah, and then there goes SK Hynix upside there as the market's going. Look, man, we're $4 in the money on Nvidia, but at the end of the day, it's SK Hynix right there that just took some money away from us, up to 173, breaking out right now, going back up to its all-time highs of 177. It looks like SK Hynix rocking and rolling.
Yeah, this is the thing. USO is going back in the other direction, so it could not break out that 120. You're now busting down toward, we'll call it that liquidity grab low at 118. Maybe that's going to be a bit of a level, but I got to respect the fact that if you're trending back down there, the market wants to break back higher. So with that, I'm not even waiting till a couple more pennies when the stop triggers. If I'm getting in because I want to jump back into that silver trade, it just bounced off of VWAP. And it broke a consolidation. So do I want to turn red on silver? No, not in the face of what I'm seeing is that reversal with things going back into the downside. IBIT's a bit different in that, look, it hasn't really run that top. It's a relatively tight stop to begin with, and it just sort of held that high. So I can hang on to this one, but it's a relatively tight stop anyways. The way I see it, the only decision for looking at a short trade is, can I find something that is still weak enough? Like, I don't want something above the volume weighted average price where I'd be fighting it, because the market gets to that top, I still want to be thinking reversion. And the only thing I can come up with so far is SMCI. Because for whatever reason, it's still down. I know Intel's down as well, but it's close enough and respecting the volume weighted average price. So that does give me a good opportunity to be able to play into it. I know we were in IBM earlier, but I still don't like it. It bounced once. You took what you could get. I could have got more. We'll call it a fail, not holding on for that extra $1.50. But it's back down to 215. I'd say, like, I don't even want to think about the 3-day rule. I'm not sure I want this until after earnings. I think you wait, because it's at a price level that if you like the stock, you should be buying it, but I think I'll wait till after earnings. I do still like this for a long-term play. I think you're getting, obviously, a 25% haircut is appealing, but they report in a week and a day. I think you want to give it that time to see what happens next. And again, it's just a bit of patience. SpaceX, I might jump back to this. Like, SpaceX is above VWAP, which I don't like to short, but it is still putting in some lower highs, so we can jump back over to that trade. SpaceX and IBM have been good, but I'm just not seeing good reasons to continue. Not with the market strength coming in here that we're seeing. Arun the Warrior said IBM got its cheeks clapped. Something worse than that.
Yeah, they got hit pretty good.
If you've ever seen, if you've ever seen the show The Boondocks, the way I would describe IBM is someone said, we could do it the easy way or the hard way. And the CEO with that letter said, oh, I see you chose the hard way. And that's what they get.
Yeah, they.
And if you know, you know. But I'm not going to say the actual thing that gets said.
Yeah, it's probably a little more vulgar than that. Yeah, so good move. I can't believe it's down that low. I thought we were going to get a little bounce back on that one. 175.50. Going to get hit again here on SK Hynix as there it goes, man. Just go. We talked about this, trying to stay maybe away from SK Hynix and what sort of the pressure points were there. And there it goes breaking through. So we got in and out there again at 175. I'm trying to hold for a downside play. We've seen, obviously, those plays come from before. And I just want to show you, this is what it looks like here, going back into where we were on IPO day. So SK Hynix right now, back up into those tick highs of 177. I don't think there's anything wrong with holding against that at this point. But yeah, here it goes, running right back up to the high. Day 3 play, SK Hynix going hard right now, back to the upside. And doesn't look like it wants to stop anytime soon. Do we want to take $1 worth of risk and see about shorting, into, this is more than $1, but just putting on a quarter of a unit. We'll see if we could get back up into 176 and then holding against maybe 177. That breakout probably creates, a huge move there. So be careful on this kind of a breakout. I'm just trading light right now, waiting for that 175. Maybe we don't see it, maybe we do, but just 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, we got 169.50. So that's literally 10 minutes ago. So there is a potential here for this to fall back in, and here it goes now, 40 cents in the money. But, it's Nvidia. We put this out at 205 on the sticky note. It does drop through that. We are able to get another long here. But that's the end of the day for me, man. It's now 11 o'clock, and we're just waiting for SK Hynix to go. More shares on this, obviously, than we do on Nvidia. We're short right now, 175.13. Right now on SKHY.
Before we throw?
Yeah, sure. The high of the day was 176.
Before we throw you guys to the midday, V just did its most significant pullback there. Just pulled back 44 to 37. So $7 pullback and still up 55%. This one is going absolutely ham. Man, it's like it's out of, and then I thought to myself, what if this was a movie?
What if this was what?
You know that one.
I missed it. What did you say? I know,
The smart thing to do was to say yes and walk out the door. But then I thought to myself, what if this was a movie? And then the rest of it, again, the Riley speech, the kid, the FU speach.
Okay.
It is hands down the number one moment on Boondocks. I can't say it, but it's the funniest thing of all time.
Probably.
Never get rid of the writer of something. The second they fired Aaron McGruger on the show died. Because you cannot fire the creator of a show and think that things are going to work. It's like getting rid of Seth MacFarlane and thinking that Family Guy was going to be good, which is a terrible mistake. And they ruined the best comic, the best strip comic to cartoon ever done, in my humble opinion. But the best midday duo coming on in, probably trading some V. Maybe V hits $50 today. I don't know. But we're going to find out, and we're going to do so with the professor and Joey Options.
Ciao, ciao.
Boom, 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 boom. See how I slid beside Donald there? See, that was me. It was Donald, and then I came beside Donald there. All right. I like that.
All right.
Boom. Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Show. This dude, right here is Joey Options, and I'm Sharif. I did that one time. He was actually doing upgrades and downgrades on the board, and my hand made its way like right there, and nobody else saw it except him. He chuckled a little bit.
No, Neil's seen it at one
Neil's
point
seen
too.
it?
And when you were messing around with the mouse too.
The mouse. No. Oh yeah. That was a nice week.
Yeah, you
It
know.
felt very whimsical that week. I don't know why. But
You see how professional I kept with those straight face.
super professional, unlike me though.
No,
right?
that's
Like
all right,
that,
man.
the
Someone's
juxtaposition.
got to mess around a little bit.
Someone's got to mess around. Lance, Jody, buy low, sell high, grow fighting, Coggy Vids, Callum, Mitchell, frickin' Miller, and my man, Benton. I can't wrap my mind around this, Benton. Why are they selling Trossard? It makes no sense. But, Leandro, it's been real. I love you, brother. You're a fantastic player. You're clutch as hell for Arsenal. I hope you do it live in Besiktas in Turkey. Enjoy your time there. Better weather, of course, in Turkey than in England. Sorry, Adam. I see you there, Adam Deleuze. England, not really known for its weather, but love you, man. Trouts, other zinc. We got Jeffrey Jurassic. Sharif and Joey, my favorite pair.
Who said that? Who said that?
Jeffrey Jurassic.
My God.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, though. They're taking their sweet time bringing
everyone
in.
on over here.
Yeah,
Where is
exactly,
everybody
man.
at, man? Did we roll over or what? Yo, it's my boy Juan.
That's okay, Assassino.
so
We
we're just-
know it's not you,
I mean,
Assassino.